content, timing. All those things are really, really important if you have a coherent strategy towards things. Oh yeah, by the way, we do have a gifting goal today. We are crowdfunded here. If you want to support the channel, you can do so through the various things that are out there in existence. So thank you in advance for that. The White House is using images like this. And I'm thinking to myself, when people are already referring to you as a dictator, as an emperor, why would you want references of the Colosseum behind you? So is this supposed to convince people that, the country was just burning pile of rubble and you're the hero? My guy, you're the one that's burning it down. So they're going to run with this narrative that he's your champion, right? He's going to bail you out. Well, I'm not even sure where to begin. So these are the things we're going to talk about today. We obviously have to address the story with the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's like 1984 right here. It's honest. We've got more reporting on the situation with Ghislaine Maxwell's being moved from a low security prison to what they call Club Fed. There's all kinds of theories connected to that. We'll talk about that in a minute. And I also want to talk about something that we don't discuss here enough is how much wealth the Trump family has been able to acquire just since Inauguration Day. And the right, of course, will never address that. They will never talk about it. They will write it off. The blatant corruption. Here's an example, right? $1.2 billion cut from the national parks budget. Okay, for somebody who I've been to many, as you know, I've talked about this. I love the outdoors. So the national parks in our country are some of the most beautiful places on earth, and I hope everybody gets a chance to experience some of them. Cutting $1.2 billion from the national parks budget, okay? But taxpayers are going to have to come up with roughly the same total, $1 billion to refurbish the jet that he was given, and then another $200 million roughly here and there for parades. And, he's going to make these claims about the ballroom. We fucking know it's going to be a big ass grift, right? So for people to make these claims that, the Biden administration and all their corruption, whatever, we can have that conversation in earnest, only if you're willing to agree that what we're seeing here is just a full-blown fucking grift. And when you base your entire political identity on rhetoric, propaganda, misinformation, disinformation, and the blame game, right? You've got nowhere to go when people are really starting to kind of be less interested. So let's get into the BLS statistics. Again, friends, if you wouldn't mind tapping and sharing, tapping is clapping, liking is loving, sharing is caring. Don't forget about our gifting goal, and please consider supporting the channel the way that you do through either through the daily goal or through subscribing. So thank you in advance. All right. So last week, the job numbers came out, and let me just give you a recap. This is kind of what happened, and this is why everybody got pissed off. The July jobs report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported the U.S. economy added 73,000 jobs, which was about 40,000 jobs below the estimate. Okay, that's bad enough. Where it got really bad, though, is that they revised numbers from May and June down. So the May employment gains were cut from 144,000 to 19,000. Remember is it ADP? Yeah, ADP came out with some numbers in advance of the BLS numbers because they do that every month as well because they're a payroll service. So they have a pretty good handle on how many people are employed. And their numbers were around 44,000. So even those numbers were closer to what the new predictions are or the new adjustments are. So May employment gains were cut from 144,000 to 19,000. June was revised from 147,000 down to 14,000. So combined revisions for May and June were staggering 258,000 jobs less than what was originally reported. And then the agency described as a bit larger than normal. Friends, it's not difficult to understand this. It's really, really not. Let's think of it this way, okay? The growth sectors, for the most part, in our job market is healthcare. It's one of the biggest industries we have in the country. You guys know how I feel about it. It is one of the biggest industries we have in the country. So that's where job sector, that's really the only sector where there's been job growth is in healthcare. We're a service society, but in healthcare, there's jobs. Obviously, people need healthcare. So there's that. Think of it this way. If every other sector is losing jobs, which is what it is, the reason that those sectors are losing jobs, you can point it directly to volatility. As someone who's been in a position, I've probably hired, 300 people in my life, maybe more than that. There's a reason why you hire, especially like if you're in a consumable industry or a manufacturing sector or whatever that might be. You base your hiring models on forecasting your business. Like, am I going to be able to? Do I have to staff up for a sale, to a special? Am I gonna buy inventory? Am I gonna cut inventory? Am I gonna add staff? Am I gonna reduce staff? Is there gonna be holiday or seasonal hiring? Is there not gonna be seasonal hiring? So employers are like, I don't know what the fuck to do. So they're caught because of the volatility of tariffs. Okay, so that explains why there are so few industries that have seen positive growth, if any, with the exception of healthcare. So think about healthcare now, right? An industry that, thankfully, that industry was growing, or the jobs report would have been significantly worse, right? So here we are now with the big, beautiful piece of shit bill cutting 10 million or more Americans from their Medicaid and losing that benefit, which means that those people who lose their insurance will not go to the hospital. Instead, they will likely just go untreated for something. We already know that a large portion of Medicaid cuts are going to impact rural hospitals. We already know that some rural hospitals have announced that they're going to close. So the healthcare sector is not going to grow either. In fact, it's going to contract. So those job numbers that we got from July are just going to get worse. It's just going to get worse. There's a history with Mr. Trump in creation. The twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing, fraudster, convicted felon, name on a list predator. He has a history of losing jobs. Now, I've talked about this before. We were heading towards a manufacturing jobs recession prior to COVID. Lumber and steel tariffs, funny, how coincidental, was really part of that. They talked about the housing industry because of the tariffs, the increase in costs of raw materials, and that led to a lot of changes in the job market. Here we are again. He's not a job creator. I found this sound that I thought was fucking hilarious. Do I still have it here? Yeah, this is an interview with Wolf Blitzer that Trump did, because I remember this. I'm thinking, didn't he say that at one point? So this goes back to 2004, okay? And I just want you to listen to this. This is pretty wild.
I've been now around long. I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way.
Shouldn't be that way, but it is, isn't it, my guy? Yeah, the economy does better under Democrats, because it does. Okay? So we're now in this vacuum, right, where the data is the data. And then you get Mr. Trump's reaction when the data comes out, okay? This started on Truth Social, and then he went off the fucking rails. In my opinion, so let's back up. I was just informed that our country's job numbers, this is a long-ass post. I was just informed that our country's job numbers, let me do this. It's been a while. Some people like it, some people don't.
I was just informed that our country's jobs numbers are being produced by a Biden appointee, Dr. Erica McIntyre, the Commissioner of Labor Statistics, who faked the jobs numbers before the election day to try to boost Kamala's chances of victory. This is the same BLS that overstated the jobs growth in March 2024 by approximately 800 to 18,000, and then again right before the 2024 presidential election in August and September by 112,000. These were records. No one can be that wrong. We need accurate job numbers. I have directed my team to fire this Biden political appointee immediately. She will be replaced with someone much more competent and qualified. She'll be replaced by someone much more competent and qualified. Important numbers like this must be fair and accurate. They can't be manipulated for political purposes. Okay. McIntyre first said that there were only 73,000 jobs added. A shock. But more importantly, that a major mistake was made by them. 258,000 jobs downward in the prior 2 months? Similar things happen in the first part of the year, always to the negative. The economy is booming under Trump, in all caps, despite a Fed that also plays games, this time with interest rates, where they lowered them twice and substantially just before the presidential election, I assume in the hopes of getting Kamala elected. First of all, that didn't happen. How did that not work out? Jerome Tule Powell should also be put out to pasture. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
There is so much to unpack with that statement. This is the part that kind of stood out to me. She will be replaced with someone much more competent and qualified. Okay, so that's interesting because Steve Bannon had a take on this, and he was a little bit freaked out as well. So he brought some MAGA simp into his show, and they were talking about how we fix the job market or how we fix the data. This is 1984 shit that I'm about to play for you. So here you go.
What in the hell's going on there? And have we put in our own BLS? Is a MAGA Republican that President Trump knows and trusts? Are they running the Bureau of Labor Statistics yet, sir?
No, unfortunately, Steve, we still haven't gotten there. And I think that's part of the reason why we continue to have all of these different data problems.
E.J. Antoni is his name. Listen to Bannon again. He's telling us out loud.
And have we put in our own person into BLS? Is a MAGA Republican that President Trump knows and trusts? Are they
basically? Are we going to put in a MAGA Republican that Trump can tell what the job numbers are going to be? So then so September, when they report out August job numbers, are going to be, we grew the economy by
labor statistics yet
11 billion teen jobs and unemployment is negative 97%. This is the problem. When you poke holes in the entire system, when you call everything fake, you can't trust the science. You can't trust, the media. You can't trust anybody that opposes you. Anybody. This is what autocrats do. This is authoritarianism. We are going to tell you the information. Ignore everything that you've seen. Don't trust the maths. Because that's what this is. It's just maths. So I did you a solid, and I did a little bit of research into revisions, okay? So again, May employment gains were cut from 144 to 19. June was revised from 147 down to 14. The BLS issues 2 rounds of monthly revisions, okay? As late reported business data arrives and as seasonal adjustment models are recalibrated, with Q2 appearing, this is reported by Axios and by Bloomberg, with Q2 appearing weaker than expected, preliminary seasonal adjustments likely overestimated economic strength. The downward revisions reflected updated information and model recorrections. While the number is historically large, for context, only May of 2020, who was the president in May of 2020? Shocker. Only May 2020 revisions were greater. Such revisions are a standard part of the BLS process that have been conducted since the late 1970s. Happens all the time. Former President Trump demanded the immediate firing of BLS Commissioner Erica McIntyre, accusing her, quote, without evidence, of fabricating or politicizing jobs numbers. He called the revisions the biggest miscalculations in over 50 years and described the reports as a scam. That's reported by Fox Business and coming from the White House. White House advisor Kevin Hasset backed Trump's decision, alleging a partisan pattern and citing concerns about transparency and data integrity. I've got an interesting interview with said Kevin Hasset. Even in his interview, in his attempt to try to square this with people, he kind of steps in it himself. Where is that sound? Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing, please. And I've got some other shit that I'm going to play for you guys. Most of you have heard it by now, but this is Kevin Hasset. He's on with Fox News Sunday. And then just listen to him try to explain this. Okay, just listen to him try to explain it. It's comical.
There's a statement out by a number of former BLS commissioners, including the one that President Trump had in his first term, and they said it's not good to cast aspersions on what's being done because it's a formula. It's used the same way every single time. So, are you saying maybe the formulas, the calculations need to change? What would you do differently?
Right. That's right. They have.
Okay, so it's the formula now, the same formula that we've used going back to the 70s, the same formula. The exact same formula that when there's positive job growth, there was no complaints about the formula. So when the initial numbers came out in May and the numbers were 144,000 jobs created, The Trump administration was touting that. No questions about the formula then, but just now, right? Cool.
Have to, get back to ground zero and look at why the numbers have started to be so unreliable. And
says you that the numbers are unreliable. Okay.
Why did the numbers not really pick up the gig economy and so on? But again, to put it in perspective, over the last, or I'll go back to COVID, pretty much the numbers were really reliable until COVID. And then during COVID, the numbers got very unreliable. They got revised all the time, all over the place. But we kind of understand why that would happen because people aren't really filling out surveys and so on. But what happened then is that after COVID, the big revisions kept happening. And so right now we've got BLS numbers that aren't really a lot better than they were during COVID, and we need to understand why. And so I think that the president's right to call for new leadership. I think Erica is a terrific person, but I think that it's time for someone to get in there and fix this because these numbers are so crucial. These numbers are absolutely, in my talk back in 2015, I talked about how the data can't be propaganda. The data has to be something that you could trust because decision makers throughout the economy trust that these are the data that they can build a factory because they believe or cut interest rates because they believe. And if the data aren't that good, then it's a real problem for the U.S. And right now, the data have become very unreliable with these massive revisions over the last few years.
Well, maybe this data gets you to the cut that you're looking for in interest rates in September. That's a whole nother conversation.
So, yeah, the it's not propaganda, it's math. You heard him say it, right? So here we are when the data supports you. Even Mr. Hasset even gave credit to Dr. McIntyre for her work, commending her for her ability. Someone within the circle, which goes to my overall theory that they're going to let Peepaw die on the vine. John Thune and Mike Johnson refusing to hear recess appointments for a lot of the open cabinet positions based on Trump demanding that they get that done, and they didn't. They have left. Now we've got safe spaces like Fox News. This is again some interesting. When they found out they were live on the air when the data came out about the jobs report. This is kind of how they responded. This is kind of wild. I mean, they're all stuck in it, right? So he's out trying to drum up support for this, trying to deflect, distract. Don't look over here. Listen to what I'm going to tell you. And then this is how it went down on Fox.
Before we begin, I want to address the massive scandal around the revised job numbers that were just announced this morning, a little while ago, just before.
Well, I'm just stunned at another number in this report, and that is the downward revision to the June figure, from 147,000 to just 14,000. So looking over the last 3 months, we've got 73,000 in July, 14,000 in June, and 19,000 in May. Those are incredibly weak headline numbers, and that's the total, not just private jobs. So this is a very soft report.
So there you go. All the safe spaces, with the exception of Newsmax. Newsmax is trying to bail him out. They're doing. We already know that they're attempting to try to cover him. They're trying to claim that Ghislaine Maxwell is a victim, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it gets worse. Obviously, there's the questioning of the data, and then on True Social, Trump writes, "In my opinion, today's job numbers were rigged," in all caps, "in order to make the Republicans and me look bad." My guy, you don't need any help looking bad, and neither do your crony capitalist comrades, the Republicans. They don't need our help. Just like when they had 3 great days around the 2024 presidential election, and then those numbers were taken away. On November 15, 2024, right after the election, when the jobs numbers were massively revised downward, making a correction of over 818,000 jobs, a total scam. Jerome Too Late Powell is doing our country a bad service. Make America great again. Okay, so the revisions are something that happens on the regular. Former BLS commissioners and economists, including William Beach and Erica Grosjean, warn this move undermines the independence and credibility of a traditionally nonpartisan agency by design. Okay? It doesn't matter what the actual data is. If the data is positive, they will cheer that it's positive. If it's negative, they will blame the data. Okay? Hold on, I have to mute you. 1 second. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello. What's on your mind?
I mean, as long as abortions are banned, it's fine. It's fine.
Cool. Thanks for playing. I appreciate you. Again, this is autocracy, right? This is autocracy. This is what you get in an autocratic, fascistic empire sort of type of government when everything that goes against dear leader, you want to poke holes into. Okay? You want to poke holes into. And this is so fucking dangerous because there's already this massive amount of distrust in government that we know, right? We know that people do not look favorably on government in general. And you've got a large subset of our population. What's the number? I think we landed in this. Let's just say there's 15 million hardcore MAGA that doesn't matter what Trump does. They will always vote for him. The same people that would vote for him if he took somebody's life on Fifth Avenue, right? I could walk out on Fifth Avenue. Hold on. Sorry. Yes, there's particulates in the air. It's dangerous because there's so many people in our country that will only believe the data that comes from Trump. They do not care about the truth. Thank you, friends. So people within the circle are like, dude, this is the data. These are the numbers. I don't know what else to tell you. When you want to use things like rigged and scam and hoax, and that's all you ever use. When people are just kind of sick of it, which again goes to my theory that Republicans are letting him like almost die on the vine because they don't want to. David, you can leave. You don't have anything to offer, because they're sick of trying to address this. Like they have nowhere to go. When you put your eggs in the basket of lies, rhetoric, disinformation, propaganda, etc. And it's so easy to discredit it because don't forget, people within your own circle are praising the work that the person that you just fired has done. Praising it. And now, because you don't like the numbers, obviously it's part of an overall scam. And there's 15 million people, Newsmax watchers in particular, are going to believe it. And I don't know how we come back from that, to be honest. Let's see here. I talked about job growth from the first Trump administration. He was not a job creator. I mean, there was a lot of upward mobility post-recession during the Obama administration about job growth. And that trend continued. But then we started to see the impact of tariffs. And we started to see manufacturing industries. And some companies leaving. Harley leave? I think Carrier Air Conditioning left as well. So we saw a lot of job losses in manufacturing. Again, thankfully, because of healthcare, COVID saved his ass. It really did. So we were heading in that particular trend. Joe Biden comes back in. Not only did we recover all the jobs lost from COVID, but we grew. He was the biggest job creator in U.S. presidential history. There's no doubt about it. People can criticize it. Fine. I don't give a shit. Criticize all you want. But that's just the reality. All right? So I don't know where this particular scenario goes, but I think it'll be very interesting to see who they appoint and then to see what the data looks like. Right? So if we see this massive, so we can look at the tea leaves, we can look at inflation, we can look at unemployment, right? We can see these factors. We can talk about the consumer confidence is low. We can talk about industry. The industries aren't going to suddenly just decide to hire people now because Trump's the president. They're not going to just, it's like, and the expectation is that the 15 million people, the hardcore, MAGA hat wearing, simping people are just going to be like, yeah. See, now we got the right numbers. A MAGA loyalist? Who the fuck is that? Is that Bucky from East Bumfuck, West Virginia? Do you love Trump? Sure do. This is what I want you to do. I want you to become the BLS labor secretary and report out the data. Okay, what do I got to do? Just tell them that we created 750,000 jobs last month and unemployment's at 3%. Got it. So last month we cranked out 750,000 jobs and the employment is at 3%. In what sector, sir? The sectors where the jobs are at. Okay, like what industries though? The industries where the jobs are at. That's what it's going to feel like. And that's why I believe that people on the right who don't want to deal with this bullshit anymore are going to let him just drown. They're just going to let him just absolutely flounder. Okay? So it gets worse for him because you're trying to justify all of your success economically. And there is no success economically. There is none. I try to shoot it straight with you guys. I try to be as objective as I possibly can looking at this information. And there is nothing in the first 7 months of his presidency that would point to a success. Nothing. People want to talk about that surplus from June. We dissected that. It has to do with when they brought the receipts in. Okay, so we know inflation's up. We know the cost of goods are up. We know that prices with key measurements are up. We know all these things, right? We know that he's spending on shit like fucking ballroom. Listen, does anybody really think he's going to put up his own money for that ballroom? I mean, honestly, does anybody really think he's going to put up his own money? Of course not. He's going to take money from foreign entities to invest in the ballroom at the fucking White House. I mean, come on. So then we get these crazy ass statements, right? When he's just going out there and just saying fucking random ass shit. Here you go.
It almost feels like an unforced error. You know, if you think inflation I've already taken care of, prices are way down for everything, groceries, everything.
What? Now you just say shit. Okay, so the new strategy now is just to say shit. And here's the thing. Now, I know that there's a lot of MAGA in here today. So, MAGA, pull up a chair. We're going to have a little chat. I know you love your guy. I know you admire him. And I know you think that he is an alpha and he's your hero. But he thinks you're stupid. He really does. Because he can say stuff like that and you guys will believe it. See that? I just went to the grocery store and I paid $95 more than I paid 2 months ago, but Trump told me everything's cheaper. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Why do you continue to believe it? Seriously, why do you continue to believe it? We know gas prices are not down. We know the national average is up. Gas was more expensive at the end of July than it was at the end of February. So give him his first full month. Like, it's just, do you care that you're being embarrassed? Do you care? You guys would literally, you will pay more at the pump. You'll walk up to the pump. You'll see that it's $3.25, whatever the national, I think it's $3.27 is the national average right now. You'll see it $3.27. Trump will tell you it's $1.99 a gallon and you'll believe it. You'll look at your receipt and it'll say $3.27 per gallon. You'll watch Newsmax. Trump will say it's $1.99 per gallon. You'll be like, it's $1.99 per gallon. It's $1.99 per gallon. It's $1.99 per gallon. It's why we laugh, because it's just we know that the entire right-wing atmosphere is not built on anything other than emotions and feelings. You know, like it's just you don't want the data. You don't care what the source is. You do not care. You don't care about the experts. You don't care about the science. You don't care about the news. You don't care about the courts. You don't care about the legal system. You don't care about any of that. Any of the historically traditional methods to measure. You don't believe the maths. You just believe what Trump tells you. Good luck. And where it gets really bad, really bad is, well, here's just a little bit of sound. This is what we're talking. This is the guy who's in charge. This is your hero.
We must put America first. This is a nation that invented the light bulb, the telegraph, the television, the telephone, the computer chip, the smartphone, the GPS, the integrated circuit, and even the internet. Basically, we invented everything. What is left? We invented everything. And now it's AI. We invented everything. Does anyone have anything else to say?
Oh my God. He's so fucking dumb. He is so stupid. He is just dumb. Okay. I played this. There was some sound last week that I played for you guys that I was listening to, and I'm trying to navigate through it. I'm thinking, okay, well, it's a strategy on the White House's side just to throw out random numbers. Okay. So here's KKKK. By the way, I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit because there was some reporting over the weekend about how some journalists had noted that there's times when Caroline Leavitt doesn't wear her cross. Who told you that? Who's been watching Caroline? Not in a stalk your kind of way, because I've got some sound to play from Mr. Trump, things that he said about Caroline. But who's been telling you that, right? God damn. Anywho, so this was Caroline, just trying to just remind the MAGA base that she's out there only reporting on the facts.
Countries that I know have reached out. I believe it's upwards of 200 countries.
200 countries
around the world have reached out to the trade and tariff team.
So her statement was upwards of 200 countries, which would mean more than 200. Here's the thing. There's only 195 recognized countries. Just a little detail, I'm sure. I'm sure she didn't check her notes before she reported on that. So there's that. So where is this, what I wanted to play? Is this the one? Okay. Okay. So he did this crazy presser when he got back from Scotland. Like, it was all the greatest hits. Okay. Thank you. All the greatest hits. This to me is, again, I don't think he's got handlers. I don't think anybody is getting in his ear at all. I think he's just out there doing whatever the fuck he wants to do. And there's a strategy behind it, and I'll explain that to you guys in just a second, okay? I think he's the dumbest president ever. And he may be the most idiotic, he might be the dumbest person to ever hold elected office. I mean, we're talking about Bobo and MTG in the Republican Party, but just listen to this. This is wild.
Heading into midterms, what do they need to do?
The question is, Republicans heading into the midterms, what do they need to do? Okay, that's the question that's being asked.
Can they do to,
Well, one of the things they're going to be talking about pretty soon are the tremendous drop in drug prices. We've cut drug prices by 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 1,500%. I don't mean 50%. I mean 1,400, 1,500%, because we're going.
Okay. So MAGA, here I'm gonna play a little game. We're gonna call it I'm shopping for truck nuts. Okay, so you go into your truck nut supply store, right? And truck nuts are $125 per nut. So hopefully you're buying them as a match set. So they're $250 for a pair of truck nuts. If the truck nuts were on sale for 50% off, that would mean the truck nuts now cost $125. If the truck nuts were then on sale for 100% off, that means they would cost nothing. You cannot reduce the price of something more than 100%. So basically what he's telling you is that, because he was talking about drug prices, he's basically saying that I'm going to give you guys drugs if you vote for me. So, and this is like the third time that he has doubled down. He said the exact same thing. He has said the exact same thing. What's this? He said the exact same thing multiple times. You can't reduce the price of something more than 100%, because otherwise you're paying people. So the administration that is so concerned about drug use, even though they're not, even though they're so concerned about it, even though they're not, is literally telling the American people, listen, we're going to pay for your erectile dysfunction. We're going to give you money to get some morning wood. We're going to hook you up. You're all stressed out, right? We're going to pay you to take your pharmaceuticals. It's just like, it's the stupidest thing, which is why I keep going back to this. There are no handlers. People are not People are not getting in front of him saying, Mr. Trump, you can't talk about this, or at least to say you can't reduce the price of something 1,500%. You could tell people that we're gonna work on legislation so that your pharmaceuticals are the lowest they've ever been, and leave it right there. Which then leads me to the next point, where you're starting to see legacy media address his cognitive decline. The Guardian came out with something about how his decline is being elevated. The Hill came out with something. The Independent came out with something. You see CNN, MSNBC, ABC, they're all starting to cover it now. It's about fucking time. Because if Joe Biden had gone on a rant like that and talked about drug prices being dropped 1,500%, you know exactly what happened. They're not Democrat channels, my guy. Well, of course, Fox is not going to do it. You think the Guardian and the Hill and the Independent are left-leaning? Good luck with that. Because all you guys did on Fox for years was to talk about the cognitive decline. And you know what? Legacy media on the left even covered it. Too late, as far as I'm concerned, but they covered it as well. But you can't deny it. What about Bannon? What about Bannon? Just lost my ear. How do you explain it? Where are the courageous MAGA today to come up and explain that and defend it? Oh, he was just kidding. He's just trolling. Really? Okay. Again, there is a strategy. Okay, when they talk about numbers in terms of just using numbers, right? So I found this little report. They kind of summarize a roundup of Trump's latest imaginary numbers. They call it. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, this will be fun. Why do you hate the Constitution so much?
What's up, big guy? Yeah, the name's a joke. Take it easy.
Why do you hate the Constitution so much?
Well, of course I don't.
Yes.
Why are you so aggressive, buddy?
Because I don't like to talk to idiots. Have a good day. Everybody tap like crazy, please. We're probably going to get mass reported. Everybody, if you guys could just tap like crazy, gift like crazy, whatever you got. Hearts, tiny dinies, please share the live. Appreciate y'all very much. See if we can get to 150,000 likes. I'd really appreciate that. This is what happens. This is what happens. Okay, so if we do get taken down, we'll immediately go back to the backup. By the way, I've won every single appeal, so it's likely that it's going to happen again. But that's the problem when you live in an age where people are so unbelievably just Kool-Aid drinking. Anyway, a roundup of Trump's latest imaginary numbers from $1.99 gas to 1,500% price cuts. There's a strategy. Some of his greatest hits. Gasoline we hit $1.99 a gallon today in 5 different states, President Trump said on July 22nd. He said that a few times. AAA and EIA maintain a website showing the average cost of gas in every state. None was below $3. None was significantly below $3 a gallon. We're going to get the drug prices down, not 30 or 40%, which would be great. Not 50 or 60. No, we're going to get them down 1,000%, 600%, 500%, 1,500%. He said that on July 22nd, and again from the sound that I played of his return from Scotland over the weekend. A price cannot drop more than 100%. He uses statistics less as a factual statement of here is what the best data says, and more as a rhetorical construct to sell an idea. I think he uses statistics as something to make whatever he is saying look better. He will choose a stat based on what he thinks he can credibly say, and frankly, there are not strong limits on that, said Robert C. Rowland, professor of communication studies at the University of Kansas. You'll have a 68% tax increase. That's a number nobody's ever heard of before. You'll have a massive tax increase. Trump warned lawmakers on May 30th if his budget did not pass. Financial experts were predicting taxes would go up approximately 7.5% if the legislation failed. When Trump was arguing for heavy tariffs on Canada and Mexico and citing the flow of schmugs as a big reason, he declared that as many as 400,000 Americans were losing their life annually from schmug overdoses. Public health specialists say the actual number is closer to 90,000. A consequence of bad math education is we are just scared of math and therefore not in the habit of questioning it, scrutinizing it, or looking at it critically. That makes it an effective tool because anything that scares us can be used as a tactic of manipulation, and politicians absolutely know this, says Ismar Volik, a mathematics professor at Wellesley College. So one of the things that I have noticed let's go back. Let's talk about it in terms of so are we like 3 weeks into Epstein? We're gonna cover the latest on Ghislaine Maxwell because that story is just crazy. Since then, right, the scrambling of messaging that the MAGA orbit and the Trump orbit, they are so desperate. They cannot find a narrative that's going to satisfy their base. So they're just going to double down on their greatest hits. Let's just lie. Let's just stand there and lie to the American people. The problem now is that I think more people are paying attention. Before they would just write it off as, yeah, whatever. It's not what he meant. I mean, how many times? Oh, let me get the decoder ring. That's not what he meant. That's not what he said. He was just kidding. That's just his personality. Now they're like, wait, what? So you give credit to some people that you in the past that supported your messaging, and now you don't. Like you praised Jerome Powell when you hire him. You talked about how great a person he was, how he's the best in the world for this job. And now, because you don't like what he's doing what he should be doing. What he's doing has led to the United States being the best to recover from COVID, etc., helping with the inflation measures and keeping the ship afloat, so to speak. So here we are now. Yeah, do you have an issue with nail polish fee? Apparently so. Are you so insecure that triggers you? It's only like 8:45 in the morning on a Monday. Do you not have a life? Maybe go find one. Cool. So they're stuck in this spot now. Like, where do you go from here? Where do you go? Let's ask ourselves objectively this question, right? So if they take Steve Bannon's advice and they insert a MAGA loyalist, a hardcore MAGA loyalist, we know what that means. That's what they're asking for. Steve Bannon's own words. How do we get one of our guys? How do we get a MAGA in there? Do we honestly expect people to believe that numbers that come out next month are going to be the accurate numbers? This is where we're stuck, right? Because all of us then should be questioning everything, and we have a right to do so. Numbers have been revised before. It's not uncommon. It happens all the time. Twice a year they do it, right? So the second quarters, they look back on the first quarter, the first half of the year, then they'll look back on the second half of the year, and then they'll revise numbers accordingly. A lot of these seasonal adjustments. But for people just say, all of a sudden, we've got to it's shoot the messenger. This is 1984. That's what this is. This is 1984. And I don't know what this means for the future of data integrity in general. One of the single biggest threats, especially people, depending on the industry, one of the single biggest threats that face corporations in general and companies is data integrity, right? You want to make sure your customer data, whether it be through your CRM, your contact data, your mailing lists, whether your insurance, the accuracy of your policies, all these kinds of things. Data integrity is an industry, right? It's an industry. So we've got the data. Like I can read you the report here. So this is what it says. This came from the press release from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Total non-farm payroll employment changed little in July by adding 73,000+ jobs and has shown little change since April. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today. The unemployment rate at 4.2% also changed a little in July. Employment continued to trend up in healthcare and in social assistance. Federal government continued to lose jobs. As I talked about, right? We see the rise in healthcare jobs. This news release presents statistics from 2 monthly surveys. The household survey measures labor force status, including unemployment, by demographic characteristics. The establishment survey measures non-farm employment, hours, and earnings by industry. For more information about the concepts and statistical methodology in these two surveys, see the technical notes that attach with the press release. You can find this. This is at bls.gov/news.release. You can find it. I'll post it. Okay, there you go. It continues. Both the unemployment rate at 4.2% and the number of unemployed people at 7.2 million changed little in July. The unemployment rate has remained in a narrow range of 4% to 4.2% since May of 2024. That is correct. Among the major worker groups, the unemployment rates for adult men 4%, adult women 3.7%, teenagers 15.2%, whites 3.7%, black 7.2%, Asians 3.9%, and Hispanics 5.0% showed little change in July. Among the unemployed, the number of new entrants increased by 275,000 in July to 985,000. New entrants are unemployed people who are looking for their first job. Where it gets crazy is if you go down a little bit to the bottom of the article. Revisions for May and June were larger than expected. The change in total non-farm employment for May was revised down 125,000 from 144 to 19, and the change for June was revised down by 133,000 from 147 to 14,000. With these revisions, employment in May and June combined is 258,000 lower than previously reported. Monthly revisions result from additional reports received from businesses and government agencies since the last published estimates and from the recalculation of seasonal factors. So it's, again, what they do is they reach out to these industries to determine where they're hiring. We know the government position. We know that people lost their jobs in the government, right? Like, it's not that difficult to figure out. And as a reminder, like I said this to you, the growth is in the healthcare sector. So when we cut benefits, Medicaid, Medicare especially, and rural hospitals rely on that money to keep their doors open, we already know that they're going to be closing, which means more people will lose their jobs and there'll be a drop in employment in the healthcare sector. And we also know that people won't go to the hospital to be treated, which means there'll be staff changes at other hospitals because people don't have the money to go to the doctor. So the one positive industry that was showing growth, sustainable growth, was healthcare. Now what? Okay, so this is a little bit more reporting on that, and just his statements on this are just crazy because everything is a conspiracy. Like, everything is a conspiracy. And that's what he wants people to believe. And up until now, everybody's believed it.
President, why did you fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Why did you fire him?
Because I think her numbers were wrong.
Wrong.
Just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election. Days before the election, she came out with these beautiful numbers for Kamala. I guess Biden/Kamala. And she came out with these beautiful numbers trying to get somebody else elected. Then right after the election, I think on the 15th, November 15th, she had an $800,000 or $900,000 massive reduction. Said she made a mistake. That woman's numbers are.
So again, this and they're running with this story. Like, everything is made up. Like the Epstein List was a list, and it wasn't a list, and I was on it, then I wasn't on it, then it was a scam, and it was not a scam. Now this. And I've noticed that because in the past it's been very successful. You can just distract people. You know, they'll throw out 11 million illegal border crossings, not understanding that the numbers are calculated based on encounters and all these kinds of things. In the past, it was a strategy that worked for them. It's not working anymore. It's just not working because he doesn't have the people that are defending him like he's had in the past. And I used to think, to be perfectly honest, I used to think that Mike Johnson sending the House home early was strictly because of Epstein, and I think a lot of it has to do with that. But I think a lot of it has to do with this stuff too. You know, just let Peepaw just ramble. It's just giving more and more and more evidence that he is just incompetent for this job. He is in such cognitive decline. And MAGA, I want you guys to get used to hearing that, because we heard it for 4 years. So get used to hearing the fact that Donald Trump is in cognitive decline. He's not running the country. Somebody is. He's a puppet. He can't even put two sentences together. He stumbles when he walks. He doesn't make any sense. Ever watched him talk? Get used to that, because that's exactly. I didn't say that once. Sure, I did. Joe Biden's an old man. Had a stutter. Did not speak well. Looked old as shit. Had really difficult time answering questions sometimes. Absolutely. See, I can say that. I can say that because I'm not a simp. Because politicians work for me. I vote for them. And if they don't do a good job, I criticize them. That's what you guys can't do. So good luck with that, though. So again, that's the strategy. right? We're just going to blame every single traditional small d democratic institution, whether it's the courts, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's science, whether it's maths, whatever it might be. If the information does not fit the narrative about all this success that we are having as a country, then I'm going to just destroy it or attempt to. It's dangerous. It's dangerous because what's going to happen is there will be a new administration and there will be economic numbers, and people are not going to believe that either. So I don't know. It's really, really wild to me that we have to go out and explain this to people. Like, there's a historic precedent for this. There were revisions made under the Biden administration. There were revisions made under the Trump administration. But now it's the person whose job it was to do this, right? You guys just don't care. That's the worst part about it. You just don't care. And here's another example, right? We're going to pivot into Epstein in just a second here, but here's another example about how everything is rigged. Everything is rigged. Everything is a scam. Everything is a hoax. Everything. Tell me one thing that has been negative against him that he has not tried to turn into a hoax. He lost the 2020 election. It was a hoax. Hillary Clinton got more popular votes than he did. It was a hoax. He took the shot, lied because he told Bob Woodward that C-19 was more serious than it was, lied to the American people. Press around that was a hoax. Election in 2020, that was a hoax, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everything is a hoax that doesn't work against him. And this is the little boy who cried wolf. I'm not even sure if that's the proper analogy, because now when the data literally lines up to say, dude, your economic performance is shit. And we told you it was going to be like this. So what do? So this is another example. This.
You have said that you have not been briefed on the Epstein files, or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name?
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this: those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by.
So the Democrats were the worst scum on earth, not the guy who went to jail for trafficking and abusing women, not the predator, not the P3DO, and not his handler who is currently serving a jail sentence who you've considered pardoning. They're not the worst, but the people that you don't like are. Okay.
By Comey. They were run by Garland.
Oh, Garland now.
They were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. That's right.
They were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen.
So the guys, I don't know if you knew this. I don't know if you knew this, but the auto pen is running the government. Yep. The auto pens
were run for
the auto pens pressers are very interesting. Yeah, auto pen 2028 exactly. The auto pens pressers, he just kind of clicks and moves on. Yeah, he just sort of clicks and moves on. Thank you. Thanks for being. I'm here. I'm here to try the deal.
By the worst scum on earth, they were run by Comey. They were run by Garland. They were run by Biden. Run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Those files were run by.
So that's the tell, right? This is the confession. I think we played this last week. This is the confession right here. Okay, here, just this part again.
They would have released. Those files.
Okay, so again, acknowledging that you're in there, we also have reporting that the FBI literally redacted his name from any references. Remember, there's that story that 1,000 FBI personnel were pulled from their jobs of law enforcement, to actually protect the nation. Instead, you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember that scene in Willy Wonka where Veruca's dad had the entire company buying thousands of boxes of Wonka bars, and they're all ripping the packages open, looking for the golden ticket. That's what it feels like. So all the FBI operatives are sitting around these tables, and they're looking through all the documents, and sure enough, they find Trump's name hundreds of times references, and then they redacted it. They literally redacted it. And now, in his words, here's the confession again, he's acknowledging that he's in there, but the only way it could be in there is if they put it in there. Okay.
Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they hadn't released it, the whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe, and then he gave out because he was 25 points down, and then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about it. She was a horrible vice president. But think of it. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy.
Somebody just pointed this out in the chat. It's the exact same excuse that he used when they found boxes of classified information in his bedroom. Well, they planted it. Somebody put it there. It's a hoax. Everything now, this is why I believe that this is the end of the Trump administration. I really feel like it's things like this that are going to, where has J.D. Vance been? I really think this is going to be it because they are done talking about this. And just as a reminder, you guys, we're not talking about politics here. We're not talking about interpretation of the Alien Enemies Act. We're not talking about interpretations of IEPA, the International Economic Emergency Powers Act or whatever the fuck it is. We're not talking about that. We are talking about crimes against children. The worst of the worst. You are at the bottom of the rung in jail if you commit crimes against kids. Okay. And by the way, there's entire wings now dedicated to Republican lawmakers because they're all guilty. This is what we're talking about here. You cannot touch this. You cannot run away from this. You can't. They are desperately trying to run away from this and they can't do it. And I think this is the end. So here you go. There's an acknowledgement that I'm on the list because the Attorney General told me I was. But the only way I would be on the list would be if the Democrats and the auto pen put it there. Do you guys get it? So, okay, let's address this comment. Democrats had 4 years. Okay, Kachif, I'm going to explain this to you. No, the Democrats did not have 4 years because Ghislaine Maxwell's case was still happening. And there was evidence from Jeffrey Epstein's trial that was introduced during the Maxwell case. Okay, she was sent to jail in 2023. The court released information in early 2024, which is where we got the flight logs from, which is where we got these names from, so that the courts released it. Now, unlike the Trump administration, the Biden administration did not order the Justice Department to do things. They looked at the separation, the intentional separation between the DOJ and the White House. Okay, so do I think there are prominent names that would be horrible? Yeah, I very likely do. I think that they're there. And I said this last week. I want to be very careful how I say this. Okay, we have the black book. We know the names that are in there. We know Donald Trump's name is in there. We know Bill Clinton's name is in there. We know Jean-Luc Brunel's name is in there. We also know that Bill Gates' name is in there. And we know that Jimmy Buffett's name is in there. Now, we have to be very, very careful. Just because your name is in a contact book does not mean that you are guilty of these crimes. Okay, I'd like to think everybody would understand that. Because, again, we have contact lists. We have names on lists. This is not me defending anybody. I want everybody who's in that book. That's the part that Pam Bondi lied about. She said that there's no investigation that's necessary because there's no compromising information. How would you know? Then why did you redact Donald Trump's name? Why are you just afraid to release this information? Why are you trying to blame it on other entities? So that's the reason as to why information that was not previously released from the Biden administration. That's why. So when you've created this scenario now, right? And then it gets worse because I was really curious about the timeline, the separation of their relationship. Let me just make sure that I'm done with the BLS stuff. Yeah, I think we've covered that sufficiently. If you guys have any more questions about that, then we can talk about it. But I do want to make sure that we're shifting. 9:03 o'clock, 9 Eastern. Thank you for being here today, everybody. In case you just find me the first time, I'm Facts. We're here Monday through Friday, every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. till noon Eastern time. Thank you very much. You want to participate in the show, you can do a couple of things. Please consider joining our team. That helps with the algorithm. Please don't forget about gifting and sharing. And also, if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so through the various things that are out there. We are crowdfunded. Thank you very, very much. Okay, so this sound, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but I heard this sound and I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? This is, he's meeting with his new bestie on Newsmax, and I forget the guy's name. Actually, I can tell you here, one second. His name is... I don't even remember. Let's see. He's one of the simps on Newsmax. Like, it's his new safe space. That's where he goes now. Rob Finnerty. Okay, I don't know if you heard this sound, but this is just I don't even know how to describe it.
1,200%.
If you don't want to answer this, I didn't realize she'd be in the room, but she's on my list. Caroline Leavitt.
She's become a star. It's that face, it's that brain, it's those lips, the way they move like she's a machine gun. Is she in the room?
She's in the room.
She's a star, and she's great. She's a great person, actually, but she's, I don't think anybody has ever had a better press secretary than Caroline. She's been amazing.
Mr. President, thank you so much for all of your time this afternoon.
Even 1,200%.
If you don't want to answer this, I didn't realize she'd be in the room, but she's on my list. Caroline Leavitt.
She's become a star. It's that face, it's that brain, it's those lips, the way they move like she's a machine gun.
It's those lips, the way they move. She's like a machine gun. I don't even really know. I don't think anything else really needs to be said after that ridiculous statement. It was really weird, right? So that whole interview and then the subsequent press conference when he landed from Scotland, doubling down on 1,500% reducing prices for drug. And then there's another one, and then this one was even weirder. This was fucking nuts. I've got some more sound to play for you too. Pulling a lot of these clips together is taking its toll on me, just because I'm just, do I actually have to watch that again? This is crazy. Two things on that. One, he talks about, you guys know the story. Let me back up a second. You guys know the story about how a Russian Federation member came out with some pretty strong words about what's required for Russia to defend itself. And then Trump talked about placing nuclear submarines in an area where they're available or on the ready. First rule of subs is you don't talk about subs. It's like Fight Club. So he's, first of all, that you're even talking about it at all is just like, talk about a national security threat. But then there's this. Then there's this crazy statement. This is fucking wild. Same interview.
Look at what's happened just over the last little while. We've settled a lot of
very beautiful wars.
Don't get a lot of attention from the media.
No, they don't talk about it.
Can I just ask you, your 10-day
one
deadline.
of the wars, think of it.
Sorry.
India, Pakistan.
What?
Nuclear. Take a look at what's happened just over the last little while. We've settled a lot A lot of very beautiful wars have been settled.
That don't get a lot.
A lot of beautiful wars? What? What? Why is it so hard? Yeah, of course the sub-talk is an Epstein distraction. Everything's an Epstein distraction. Why is it so difficult for people on the right to just accept the fact that Peepaw needs to be put out to pasture? Beautiful wars? Don't forget, it's the same thing that he said about the Declaration of Independence. It's a love letter. It's a beautiful letter. Okay. All right. The story about Ghislaine Maxwell, in case you haven't heard, she's been moved to, she was in a minimum security prison. Now she's been moved to a place they refer to it as Club Fed. So she was moved from Jackson, I think she was in Jacksonville, Florida, now to Bryan, Texas, and into an environment that houses some white collar criminals, like people from Real Housewives. It's like there's no security. And of course the conspiracy theorists are running with this like crazy as to why. Is it easier to get to her? Will people in that facility not care as much? She is still a sex trafficker. Let's not forget that. But this is a summary of the story. It's crazy. Just some of the things that people have said about her is just, well, here's the sound.
We know that has happened for Ghislaine Maxwell in the federal prison system, that she was in Florida in a Tallahassee low security prison. That's the type of prison that can house violent offenders. It's the type of prison with a double fence around the perimeter, like you would expect to see in photos of a prison. That sort of prison could have become a place that may be unsafe for her potentially, or that would not be the most comfortable place for her.
I'm sorry, comfortable? Okay.
Her in the federal prison system. That's according to a prison consultant I talked to just a few minutes ago, who is not working for her directly, but has a very good understanding of the system. Now she's in a federal prison in Bryan, Texas, outside of Austin. That's a minimal security camp. A camp is a place that doesn't have that sort of double protective fence around it. It has nonviolent white-collar offenders. She would also be considered that. The type of offenders who you may recognize their names. People like Jen Shaw, who was on the TV show Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Also Elizabeth Holmes, formerly of the blood testing company Theranos. So now Ghislaine Maxwell would be around women who are much lower risk, women who are unlikely to be violent because they do not have a history of violence around them. They would not be gang members, for instance, but also it does create a situation where it's much more comfortable for her. And a reminder, she's not that far into serving this sentence, that she has a 20-year sentence.
Comfortable. I'm glad we are so concerned about the comfort of a fucking predator, a woman who was grooming, indoctrinating, trafficking, and abusing teenage girls on dozens of occasions, if not more. But I'm so glad that we're concerned about her comfort. That's the argument that they're using. Right? Yeah, why isn't she at Alligator Alcatraz? That's a really good point. Why isn't she there? All right, so I'm gonna play some sound from Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff is probably one of the preeminent experts on Donald Trump, because he's spent probably the most amount of time with him, of people that have biographed him, or have written about him, or have talked about him. And most of what he has talked about has come true, as we're finding out. So he kind of talks about the timeline a little bit, because I've been a little bit confused about the timeline. Because initially, don't forget, Mr. Trump told us, the twice impeached, four-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster, convicted felon, name on a list predator, has told us that the reason that their relationship ended is because Jeffrey was a creep. It doesn't track, because the other day he told us that it was because he was stealing his girls. Stolen workers. Remember that famous sound, like he stole people, right? So I did a little bit of research based on the timeline. I'm going to come back after Michael Wolff talks about this, and just this is his interpretation, or part of the initial ruse that Trump expected us to believe, because that's what he thinks his base is just stupid and they'll believe him. Well, here you go.
Epstein's explanation for why this friendship ended is as follows. In 2004, Epstein believed himself to be the high bidder on a piece of real estate in Palm Beach, a house. $36 million was his bid. He took his friend Trump around to see the house to advise him on how to move the swimming pool. Trump thereupon went around Epstein's back and bid $40 million for the house and got the property. Epstein, who was well acquainted, in fact, deeply involved with Trump's scattered finances, understood that he didn't have $40 million to pay for this house. Now, if that was the case, it was someone else's $40 million. At the time, Epstein believed this to be the $40 million of a Russian oligarch by the name of Rybolet. Less than 2 years later, this same house that Trump had bought for $40 million was sold for $95 million. And it was, in fact, sold to Mr. Rybolet. This is all a red flag of money laundering. And what Epstein did, and he was furious about losing this house. Epstein, after the sale of this house, after Trump went around his back, got this house, Epstein began to threaten him. He began to threaten him with lawsuits. He began to threaten him with going to the press and saying that Trump was a front man for a money laundering deal. Trump panics at this point, and Epstein believed, and he believed to his dying day, that it was Trump who went to the police, Trump who was fully acquainted with what was going on at Epstein's house, fully acquainted for many years. Trump went to the police and, as Epstein said, dropped the dime on him. That is to say, informed the police of what was going on, and an investigation began, and all of Epstein's legal problems for the next 15 years began to unfold. This story about this piece of real estate and their falling out was first published in June 2019. It's published actually in my book, Siege, the second book I had written about the Trump White House. Epstein had recounted this story to me. I put it in this book. Epstein at that moment was in Paris. He read the book. He called me with some alarm, and he said he was afraid that he might have said too much. 3 weeks later, he returned to the United States from Paris and was promptly arrested on the tarmac of Teterboro Airport in New Jersey when his plane landed.
So that was Epstein's side of the story, right? We had that sound. Don't forget, do I still have that? I think I do. Let's just play this real quick. I think I have it. Yeah, there's this just despicable sound, right? Remember this one?
I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island. Yeah.
In one of my good moments. Okay, good to know. So I wanted to unpack this a little bit based on the timeline. Don't forget, actually, hold on a second. Murray, I think it's Murray. Murray has thrown down the $2 challenge, she said. $2, we love you, Facts. Keep up faxing. Keep up faxing. Thank you. I will. Appreciate you. Okay, so this is from PBS, and they cite information from PolitiFact. President Trump's friendship with financier and late offender Jeffrey Epstein is well documented, but its rupture, not so much, and ended in 2024 or 2007 or maybe some other time. The timeline of the relationship end is hard to parse and varies depending on when Trump and his inner circle were asked. Before Trump's presidency and Epstein's conviction as an offender, the two socialized at soirees with Victoria's Secrets models, parties in Palm Beach, and trips between New York and Florida on Epstein's private jet. Trump told New York Magazine in 2002 that the pair also shared an affinity for beautiful women, and Trump called Epstein, quote, a terrific guy, and then a falling out. Trump has since made multiple attempts to distance himself from Epstein. In 2019, when Epstein was arrested on federal trafficking charges, Trump told reporters that, quote, he was not a fan of his, that I can tell you I was not a fan of his. He also said he hadn't spoken to Epstein in 15 years, which would have been 2004. Trump's relationship with Epstein was garnered renewed scrutiny after the Trump administration reversed course on its pledge to release its collection of investigative evidence related to Epstein. Here's what we know about the three most widely cited explanations for the rupture. Epstein stole Trump's spa employees. On July 23rd, White House Communications Director Stephen Chung said on CNN that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep. We saw that interview. On July 28th, Trump told reporters at his golf property in Turnberry, Scotland, the reason for the rift was that Epstein stole young women who worked for his Mar-a-Lago spa in Palm Beach. Okay, I got to appeal that. Everybody tap and share. Even if a tiny diny or a heart, guys, even a one coin, and please consider joining our team if you haven't yet. Again, on July 28th, Trump told reporters at his property in Turnberry that the reason for the rift was that Epstein stole young women who worked for his Mar-a-Lago spa in Palm Beach. Trump didn't specify a timeline for when it happened, but called it such old history. He said, for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeff. He stole people that worked for me, I said. Don't ever do that again. He did it again, and I threw him out of the place, persona non grata, Trump said. On July 29, Trump elaborated on his remarks from the day before, acknowledging that Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre was among spa staffers he said Epstein had poached from him. I think Giuffre was worked at the spa. He said that, I think so, but she didn't say anything bad about us. He stole her. Giuffre self-unalived in April. In 2009, under the pseudonym Jane Doe 102, she said Epstein's convicted former girlfriend and accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell recruited her while she was a minor working at Mar-a-Lago to be the late offender's personal masseuse. Giuffre's family responded to Trump's July 29 comment saying his latest account raises questions about the president's prior knowledge of Epstein's criminal wrongdoing. Giuffre spoke publicly in 2011 about her abuse, Axios reported. Social Security records submitted to the court during Giuffre's defamation case against Maxwell show that Giuffre was a locker room spa attendant at Mar-a-Lago in the summer of 2000, 2 years before Trump called Epstein a terrific guy. The precise dates and duration of her employment at Mar-a-Lago remain unclear when the lawsuit settled in 2017, ABC reported. When PolitiFact asked the White House for clarification about when and why Trump banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago, Chung said in response, taking employees is most definitely creepy. So they're trying to combine the two now. Some news reports say the pair's falling out happened in late 2007. Trump barred Epstein from Mar-a-Lago after Epstein behaved inappropriately toward a club member's teenage daughter, according to journalists from the Miami Herald and the Wall Street Journal. The reporters included some information about Trump's links to Epstein in their 2020 book, The Grifters Club, Trump, Mar-a-Lago, and the Selling of the Presidency. A Mar-a-Lago member told the journalists that Trump had, quote, kicked Epstein out after Epstein harassed the daughter of a member. Sarah Blasky of the Miami Herald reported. The way that this person described it, such an act could irreparably harm the Trump brand, leaving Donald no choice but to remove Epstein. Not because it was a horrible thing to do to a teenage girl, but because he was worried about his brand and his reputation. Yeah, that tracks. That incident happened around October 2007 when Mar-a-Lago's registry listed the Epstein's account as closed, the Miami Herald reported. That's about 8 months before Epstein pled guilty in Florida to state counts of solicitation of prostitution and solicitation of prostitution from someone under the age of 18, and about 1 year after a Florida grand jury indicted Epstein on a single count of solicitation. The New York Times reported this month that Trump told some associates that this was the reason he distanced himself from Epstein. Lawyer Brad Edwards, who has represented Epstein's victim, said Trump told him this story in 2009, the Times reported. November 2004, Trump and Epstein spar over an oceanfront mansion. In 2019, the Washington Post reported that about a 2004 bidding war over a Palm Beach oceanfront mansion, the sound that I just played from Michael Wolff, that's what he was talking about, as the driving wedge between Trump and Epstein. The dispute happened months before Palm Beach police began investigating allegations that Epstein was abusing minors. The mansion entered the market after previous owner and healthcare tycoon turned philanthropist Abraham Gossman declared bankruptcy, Palm Beach Daily News reported. Bankruptcy courts acquired the home, dubbed Maison de l'Amitié, or House of Friendship, and put it on the auction block. Trump outbid Epstein, securing the 62,000 square foot mansion for $41.35 million. Before the auction, the trustee in case, Joseph Luzinski, described the showdown as two very large Palm Beach egos going at it. There was little public record of the two men interacting after that, the New York Times reported. So, as is every single detail of this case, there is no consistency. Initially, and don't forget, up until the discovery of this, up until this bombshell that came out, the biggest scandal in U.S. political history, the story was always that I kicked him out because he was a creep. Well, the timing doesn't track. It doesn't track at all. The timing does not track. The timing, you knew that he stole young girls. That was in Virginia Giuffre's testimony. And then 4 years had passed before you made that public statement. And then you doubled down on the real estate deal. And then you doubled down on this. And then you doubled down on that. So that has led for many people to draw their own conclusions. And the conclusion that I will draw is that based on his actions, based on his lack of transparency, and again, one of the fundamental principles of the Trump administration is that we're going to be transparent. Yeah, right. Based on their lack of transparency, based on inconsistency of statements, based on him basically confessing that he was on the list, the reason I'm on there is because the Democrats made it up, right? The fact that Pam Bondi had to bring in 1,000 FBI personnel, the fact that his name's been redacted over and over and over and over again, that tells me that he's hiding something. And that should tell everybody that he's hiding something, because he is. What that something is, TBD, I suppose. But I said this before, and I said this last week. White men in America in particular, especially the billionaire class, the entitled, the elite, will never really face legal scrutiny. So that's why this is a court of public opinion, which is why some of the first comments of the day is like, why are you still talking about Epstein? Because it's necessary. Because the victims' voices need to be supported, propped up, and I think this should serve as a marker for why women don't report in general. What's the number? I think it's 1 in 3 now of women who are abused, and men too. Sure, we understand that, but by and large, it's women abused by men, abused by white men in particular, right? So of course they're not going to be believed, which then leads us to the whole situation with Ghislaine Maxwell, right? So I think I have the latest. I want to make sure I got this right. Okay. She's officially been transferred to the federal prison camp Bryan, a minimum security facility in Texas, often referred to as Club Fed. This information comes from Reuters and also from Vanity Fair. While the Bureau of Prisons hasn't officially stated why, media reports suggest the move occurred shortly after a 2-day meeting between Maxwell and Deputy U.S. Attorney Todd Blanche, former Trump defense lawyer, prompting speculation it was linked to her cooperation in ongoing investigations. That's reported on by the Daily Beast and also by The Guardian. Investigative reports also cited credible death threats as a motive for her to transfer to a facility with better oversight. Better oversight, but less oversight. So from a minimum security prison that had barbed wire and multiple walls to basically an open air spa where people do yoga and shit, where there might be somebody watching. Okay. Families of Epstein survivors, including Virginia Giuffre's, strongly condemn the transfer, calling it a cover-up and decrying what they see as preferential treatment for Maxwell. That's reported by Axios. Maxwell was subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee for deposition, originally set for August 11th, but Republicans postponed the date while Supreme Court action on her appeal remains pending. Don't forget, she's appealing not because she's innocent. And this is the weird part about it, right? This is the weird part about this whole thing. Newsmax, Greg Kelly, I played that famous sound for you, trying to portray her as a victim. She's no fucking victim. She's a fucking monster. She recruited, indoctrinated, trained, manipulated, lied, coerced, trafficked, and abused young girls. Okay? She is in jail for it, and she should rot in fucking hell because of it. They're trying to portray her as a victim. The appeal that she's making to the Supreme Court has got nothing to do with her innocence. She feels like she should not have been convicted because ultimately it has to do with that non-prosecution agreement that was signed by Jeffrey Epstein back in 2017, I think, or no, actually in 2007, and then 2007. I'll get the timing on that. Anyway, long story short, the only way she could be making that claim is because that non-prosecution agreement was meant to protect any other co-conspirators. Okay, so then you're acknowledging that you are in fact a co-conspirator. So she's asking the Supreme Court, potentially, this question is whether or not they're going to take the case at all, to say, I should not have been part of this, even though I'm a co-conspirator, because according to this, any co-conspirators should not be held accountable. So that's a wild flex, right? That is a wild flex to be able to make in that statement, okay? So that's what a repeal is. So what Congress has now said, instead of using their power of oversight, come and testify before us. Well, no, I can't do that because I have to wait till my appeal is heard. Okay. Let's see. Where was I? Maxwell was subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee for a deposition originally set for a week from today, but Republicans postponed the date while Supreme Court action on her appeal remains pending. Maxwell's attorneys conditioned any testimony on receiving immunity and possibly a presidential pardon, a request that Trump has said no one has formally made of him, but yet he has the ability to do so. Maxwell continues to pursue multiple legal strategies, an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, requests for immunity to testify, and overtures for clemency or a pardon, reportedly from President Trump. Even amid public fatigue over the Epstein scandal, analysts and commentators emphasize its ongoing relevance. The case impacts transparency in government investigations, survivors' rights, and accountability for elite figures linked to her. Maxwell has been moved to a more lenient minimum security facility following meetings with DOJ officials. She's appealing her conviction and remains engaged in high-stakes negotiations around testimony, immunity, and clemency. The case continues to stir political controversy and public concern, especially among survivors and legal experts demanding greater transparency. I'd like to hear from some survivors, because Ghislaine Maxwell is not a victim. She is not a victim.
I distinctly remember him smiling and enjoying the fact that he was doing this. He asked me to take my clothes off. I was trembling.
F1 in the chat.
I was so scared. He began to touch me. It quickly turned into an assault.
I was so young. Ghislaine woke me up in the morning and said, "You're going to meet a prince today." And Ghislaine said, "He's coming back to the house, and I want you to do for him what you do for Epstein."
Epstein walked out and said, "Oh, no, she's not here for you." And he said, "Come with me." And he escorted him into another office, and I was like, who's in there? And when he said, "Oh, I thought she was 16, I thought, is there a 16-year-old in there? There's hundreds of us that were preyed upon.
Jeffrey thought that we were disposable, and he threw us all away. And look who's still standing.
I also want to introduce you to Temple Taggart. Temple Taggart is someone who has made credible accusations against Donald Trump as well. Another name of a victim that needs to be amplified. So we'll listen to Temple Taggart now, and I'll give you a little bit more backstory on Temple in just a moment.
I met Mr. Trump when I was representing Utah as a contestant in the Miss USA pageant in 1997. Mr. Trump greeted me with a hug and a kiss on my lips. I was shocked because that was the first time that any man had ever greeted me in that manner. But I ended up excusing Mr. Trump's behavior as a way that East Coast people greet each other. After the pageant, Mr. Trump invited me to meet with him in New York to discuss my future. He indicated that he wanted to introduce me to various modeling agencies. I have traveled to New York with 2 chaperones to meet with him at his office located in Trump Tower. To my surprise, Mr. Trump embraced me and kissed me on the lips for a second time. It was that second kiss that made me wonder what his intentions really were. What he did made me feel so uncomfortable that I ended up cutting my trip short, bought my own plane ticket, flew home, and never spoke to him again. Mr. Trump, in the debate, denied ever acting on what he stated in the Access Hollywood tape that he had done to women. I thought to myself, how can he deny that? He had kissed me on the lips twice without my consent. And it was that second kiss that was definitely a different kiss. He looked at me different. The way he hugged me was different. It was just a totally different experience where that's where I kind of just was stunned going, what the heck does he think this is? One by one, more accusers started coming forward with similar accusations against Mr. Trump. He referred to us all as liars. To make matters worse, he even threatened to sue me and all of his accusers. I felt like Mr. Trump was trying to silence all of his accusers who would come forward, as well as others who may be thinking of coming forward. That's when I felt enough is enough, and I needed to stand up to Donald Trump. I feel that he is trying to bully and frighten us into silence. Mr. Trump, that is not going to work with me. I have told the truth about my experience with you, and I am not going to be silenced. I am not afraid of you, Mr. Trump. If you carry out your threat to sue me, I will defend myself. I'm a Republican, and I want to be an example to others that might be able to come forward, and I want to be strong and dignified in how I react. And so I am willing to face him head on if possible. I know that I'm telling the truth, and the truth is the greatest defense.
So, Temple Taggart. As Flood, this was reporting, this was October 13th of 2016 is when I found this story, okay? As a flood of new allegations against Donald Trump emerged, one of the women who says he approached her inappropriately told NBC News about two encounters similar to the behavior Trump boasted about in a now notorious 2005 hot mic video known as the Access Hollywood tape. Temple Taggart McDowell, who represented Utah as a 21-year-old in the 1997 Miss USA pageant in Shreveport, Louisiana, said Wednesday night that she was introduced to Trump during a rehearsal by her father, who was a fan of Trump's. It was at a time when it was at the time he turned to me and embraced me and gave me a kiss on the lips. Later, McDowell said Trump offered to help get her contracts with elite modeling agencies, and don't forget about the people connected to the modeling agencies that were a front for lots of other things, including this trafficking, including Ghislaine Maxwell going to Mar-a-Lago and events like fashion shows and modeling exhibits, et cetera, and recruiting girls into this club. Okay? So it fucking tracks. Later, McDowell said Trump offered to help her get contracts with elite modeling agencies, and during a visit to Trump Tower in Manhattan at Trump's invitation, he again embraced and kissed her on the lips, this time in front of two pageant chaperones and a receptionist. The New York encounter made one of the chaperones so, quote, uncomfortable that she advised McDowell not to go into any rooms with Trump alone, McDowell said. The other chaperones accompanied her into Trump's office, she said. Trump, who was married to Marla at the time of the alleged encounters, strongly disputed McDowell's claims, telling NBC News that he couldn't remember her, and if he did, it'd be fake anyway. I don't even know who she is, Trump said. Trump, who owned the pageant from 1996 to 2015. She claims this took place in a public area. I never kissed her. I emphatically deny this ridiculous claim. She's lying. The extensive interview, which adds many new details to an accusation Taggart first made to the New York Times, was conducted as similar allegations from numerous other women were published for the first time. I remember being shocked by the encounter at the Miss USA pageant, McDowell said, adding, I would have just thought to shake somebody's hand, and that was his first response with me. I remember feeling kind of embarrassed, like wanting to turn and wipe my mouth. Like, what just happened, she said. But because he's the pageant owner, you're trying to make a good first impression, McDowell said. So while the encounter made her uncomfortable, I just kind of shoot it off and kind of went along with it. That I'm sure a lot of victims of things like this have done. The New York encounter took her off guard, said McDowell, who described herself as very naive and very innocent at the time. After Trump allegedly kissed her, I remember immediately thinking, what does he think this is? She said of the kiss, was definitely on the lips and made her feel super awkward. I would never approach or greet anybody like that unless it was somebody that I had been dating, she said. After the Times article appeared in May, I went into hiding, and I denied every single interview request. I just told people, I'm a mom. This is my life. I just really want my life to go back to normal. But then came the disclosure of the 11-year-old Access Hollywood behind-the-scenes video in which Trump can be lewdly discussing how he could approach women he found desirable. Access Hollywood is owned and distributed by NBC Universal, the parent company of NBC News. I'm automatically attracted to beautiful women. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet, he says in the video. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Almost immediately, my phone blew up, said McDowell, who said a friend told her, well, now nobody can say that you're making this up. I really thought. I just need to probably come forward and say exactly what happened, she said Wednesday night. So that's it. Those are the honest facts. People can make a judgment from that and from seeing me and from hearing me and realizing that I have no intentions of benefiting from this whatsoever. The lesson she now passes on to her children is this. If anybody ever makes you feel uncomfortable, or if anybody does anything to you that isn't right, you do what you feel is right. You have the right to say no. You have the right to get out of there. You have the right to leave, and you have the right to make them feel uncomfortable if they're making you feel uncomfortable, she said. I don't care what you have to do. Just get yourself out of the situation. I don't even know. Let me see if I can find this. This is the sound. Here you go.
I'll admit it. I did try and fuck her. She was married.
Huge news there.
No, Nancy. Yeah. No, this was, and I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there, and she was married. And all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's totally changed her look.
She's your girl's hot as shit in the purple.
Whoa!
Yes!
Whoa!
Yes, the Donald is good.
Whoa!
Oh, my man! Wait, you gotta look at me when you get out of your
Set this up.
That is very.
Will you give me the thumbs
Look
up?
at you. You are.
You gotta put the thumbs up. You gotta get the thumbs up. Can't be too happy.
Yeah, let me.
You and I will walk in. Maybe it's a different one. Yeah, that's it, with the gold. I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just, I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the pussy. Do anything.
Those legs, all I can see is the legs.
No, it looks good.
Come on, shorty.
Ooh, nice legs, huh?
Get out of the way. That's good legs.
You get the idea. He was married, by the way, at the time. So as Temple Taggart's description is literally authored right there out of the mouth of the twice impeached, four-time indicted, sexually abusing, fraudster, convicted felon, name on a list predator. That is Donald Trump. When you're a star, they'll let you do it. I just grab them and start kissing them. That is assault. That is assault. You can do whatever you want when you're a star. Grab them by the pussy. You can do whatever you want when you're a star. I just grab them and start kissing them. You can do whatever you want when you're a star. That is assault. Okay? So for people walking around this space right now, MAGA in particular, you 15 million simps who will believe anything this guy tells you, this is going to be your come to Jesus moment. Okay? Ghislaine Maxwell, hypothetically speaking, Ghislaine Maxwell testifies. She comes out and she says, everybody that you think is on the list with the exception of Donald Trump. Are you going to believe her? Or are you going to believe the victims who literally, by the book, explains the things that he has done to, don't forget, Temple Taggart testified. Her statement goes back to before the Access Hollywood tape was released. Same thing with Eugene Carroll. Exact same details. All the other women have said the same thing, but you're not going to believe them, are you? Could we just fucking believe women? Could we literally get ourselves to a place where we just fucking believe women? And MAGA's like, well, some of them lie. Yeah, sure. Okay. Okay. Fine. That's your argument? Some of them lie? Okay, fine. No problem. But we've got a literal smoking gun here. Literal smoking gun. Those lips, Caroline, those lips, the way they move. He's a married man. Would you say that about somebody else? MAGA probably would. Right? Publicly, somebody who works for you. Somebody who works for you. I've been, a C-suiter at a company. If I said something like that publicly about one of my employees, I'd be fucking fired in a second. In a second. And here we are, bragging about it. I moved on her like a bitch. I'll take you to get some furniture. When you're a star, they'll let you do it. I just kiss them. That is assault. And you patriots, you alpha men, you are pathetic. Absolutely. I'm glad I didn't do lives over the weekend because I needed a break from this because it just makes me so angry. It literally makes me so angry. We know of the history. Like we get it. We know of all that. We know who he is. We know who he's always been. We know he's got 27 allegations of assault against him. Some cases he's settled out of court. We know about Katie Johnson. We know about Maria Farmer. We know about Stacey Williams. We know about Temple Taggart. That's not enough for MAGA? That's just not enough for you guys? Do you need to be in the room? Do you need to watch the assault happen for you to believe it? And the answer is you do. You literally, that's your kink? You need to watch it? But yet you'll believe Newsmax when they tell you that Ghislaine Maxwell is a victim? What? If MAGA thinks that the victims are lying, then there's no case at all against anybody. Yeah, I mean, don't you want to prosecute the people that you say made up the list? So let's get the evidence. Then somebody explain to me why it is that Donald Trump's name was redacted from this list. Why is he constantly lying about it and changing the story? Why do we have the receipts? How can you sit here and continue to try to justify this? Are you not going to believe any of the victims? Any of them? Any of them? When they all have the same story about the same types of things and in his own fucking words?
She was married.
Huge news there.
No, Nancy. Yeah. No, this was, and I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where there's some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch. But I couldn't get there. And she was married. And all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's totally changed her look.
Jeez, your girl's hot as shit. In the purple.
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes, Nadal has scored.
Whoa.
Oh, my man. Wait, you got to look at me when you get out. Like,
sets this up.
That is very.
Will you give me the thumbs
Look
up?
at you. You are a.
You got to put the thumbs up. You got to get the thumbs up. Can't be too happy.
Yeah, let me.
You and I will walk in. Maybe it's a different one. Yeah, that's it, with the gold. I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them.
I'm automatically attracted to them and I just start kissing them. That's assault. Okay? I mean, there's no other way you can describe it. And because you're a star, they'll let you do it. And don't forget, in that infamous testimony he gave at E. Jean Carroll's deposition, so would you consider yourself a star? Yeah, fortunately or unfortunately. And MAGA, you guys idolize him. You idolize him. You see him as your hero. You see him as a gift sent by God, like he's literally God's agent, and he's here to do the work. I'd like you, this is an exercise that I know you would never do. I'd like you to sit down with your daughters, especially your young daughters, 10, 11, 12 years old. You know, you look into their blue eyes and their strawberry curls, you know, your heart, your girl dad. I'd like you to play that tape for them. You won't. And then let them ask you questions. Do you support that guy, Dad? Or if they find this tape and said, you support this guy. He just bragged about being able to grab women. Daddy, would it be okay if a boy just grabbed me? Daddy, would it be okay if a guy took a Tic Tac and said, I'm a star, they let me do it, I just grab them? I can grab them by my pussy? Is that okay with you, Daddy? That's okay with you? That's okay? That's okay that I can just do whatever I want because I'm a star? I can just walk into a changing room? 5 young girls, teenage girls, under the age of 18 that were in the Miss Teen USA pageant all testified to the same thing, that he walked in on them when they were partially dressed. He bragged about it. What if your daughter wanted to be in a pageant? Would you be okay with a person walking in? Most likely, anybody else that did it, you would say, I'm going to rip their head off. But if it's Donald Trump, no, you won't. No, you won't. You won't. This is why we're going to keep talking about this. Because we're talking about women and girls who have been victimized by this piece of fucking shit human being. He doesn't deserve respect. He doesn't deserve quarter. And some more sound from some of the other victims. I'm going to play this for you as well.
I was 14 years old. Like, what the hell do you know when you're that young?
A painful bond.
I think the nature of this kind of abuse means that you're conditioned to be silent and shameful.
It was a big game for him. And we were the pieces of his game.
And you're like, I'm just not going to say anything because that's what he told me to do.
The women all have familiar stories of grooming, promises, and then sexual assault. Virginia Roberts Jufrey says Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell recruited her one summer when she was working as a locker room attendant at Mar-a-Lago. In her first broadcast interview, Virginia tells NBC News what she has previously alleged in court filings, that Epstein directed her to also have sex with a number of powerful men, among them Britain's Prince Andrew.
He was an abuser. He was a participant.
Virginia says she was 17 when this photo was taken with the prince in Maxwell's London townhome, next to the bathroom, where she says he sexually abused her.
I didn't know at that point that I was going to be trafficked to that prince. And Ghislaine said he's coming back to the house. And I want you to do for him what you do for Epstein. I couldn't believe that even royalty were involved.
She says Prince Andrew abused her 2 more times, once in New York in Epstein's mansion, and again in his Virgin Islands estate.
Justice Now is holding accountable the perpetrators that helped him and participated with him, and encouraging more people to come forward so we can try to put this puzzle together and understand how it happened. How did this happen for so long? How did he get away with it?
They failed us before. Don't fail us again.
Exactly.
That's all we're asking. Take us serious. We matter. You matter. You matter and you matter. And for all the girls out there, you all matter too.
The bulk of the victims were between the ages of 13 and 17 when these assaults occurred and the trafficking occurred and the abuse occurred. And don't forget, as it's been described in the past, it wasn't just about the schmex part. Some of the billionaire men who were literally handed these girls on a silver platter also physically abused them as well, because that wasn't enough. So is that, although is that a scam too? Is that a hoax too? Is that all fake as well? Right? That's all fake. Was it fake that you owned the beauty pageant? Was it fake that you literally bragged about walking in on young girls? Was that a hoax? Was it the Access Hollywood tape a hoax? Did you not brag about that as well? Did you not have affairs on each of your wives? Your first wife with your second with your third, porn stars and prostitutes while your wife was pregnant? Does that not matter? Does that not matter? The good Christian man? I have sex in common with my daughter, fantasizing about dating a 10-year-old girl in 10 years. Does none of that matter? Is that all fake too? You see, the court of public opinion, a narcissist needs attention. A narcissist needs the devotion of a cult leader needs the devotion and loyalty of his cult. And as soon as that starts to shift, then the entire thing gets blown up in your face. No one wants to defend it, right? You can't. So what you'll try to do is use bullshit like Obama. There's reporting now that there's a push and encouragement for elected, and I'm not saying I have not heard elected officials talk about this yet now, but they are so desperate to shift the narrative. They now want to introduce articles of impeachment against Barack Obama. You heard that right. There's pressure from the White House to push for articles of impeachment against Barack Obama. That's how desperate they are. But again, nothing to see here, right? Nothing to see here. Let's not believe the victims, because if we had just believed the victims in the beginning, exactly for what? There's no crimes. Exactly. How does that work? Well, you can initiate articles of impeachment. It's the question about removal, because there'll be no removal. Trump just wants it on. He just wants it. And then there's a story about the Smithsonian. And I think that got a little bit blown out of proportion. The Smithsonian had an exhibit talking about historical context regarding all the presidents that had been impeached. And the exhibit was taken down, but they've made a statement saying, we just took it down temporarily like we do with a lot of exhibits. I think the timing is just bad. They said they're going to be putting it back up. Obama did nothing, right? Yes, I'm glad somebody said that. We failed the victims, and we fail the victims every single day. If the numbers are 1 in 3, let's say it's 1 in 4. So somebody help me with the math. If there's 1,000, there's 1,200 people in here. That means a few hundred women who are in here today have been assaulted. Okay? So if we just fucking believed women, if we just fucking believed women, we wouldn't be in this situation. Twice. I'm one. Look at the names. Right here, I'm one. Absolutely. Look at that. Could be low. It's probably true. It is probably low. There you go. Several men. I'm one. Look at this. Look at this. And you know what this does now? What this situation does? It just encourages or discourages more women from coming forward. 12. Me too. Several times. Me too. Survivor as well. See that? Do you understand? Are all those women lying, MAGA men? Are they in MAGA women? Are all those women lying? Should all of those women should have probably maybe double checked in the mirror so they weren't looking too sexy when they left the house, right? Or they shouldn't have put themselves in that situation, or maybe they should have just kept their legs closed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But no, nope. Trump's getting railroaded, weaponized Department of Justice. This is a bigger picture thing for me, right? Because I'm always going to try to say, what are we up against here? Where does this disdain come from? And we know a lot of it comes from the church, right? We know a lot of it comes from the patriarchy. And we know about the red pilling, how young men are never, I'm not going to even say taught, but are never, is taught the right word? To appreciate, you have to be taught to appreciate women? I guess that's probably for the context of this conversation, sure. But you grow up in an environment where it's supposed to be, your entire faith is rooted in love, and you just despise women. You just despise them. You see them as property. You see them as tokens, like they're trading cards, and you pass them around like it's nothing. They're your fucking kids. They're your wife, your partner, your sister, your aunt, your niece, your friend, your neighbor, and you don't give a fuck about them. And you will literally have conversations I can imagine must be like in this ultra-conservative, right-wing, MAGA-supporting household, where the conversations between the daughter and the son are so different. Son, you're the king of your castle. You set the rules, you set the rules, you enforce the rules, you're the one. Daughter, you do whatever your husband says. That's where it fucking starts. And then you get people like Charlie Kirk and others who go out there and promote this nonsense. This is what Charlie has to say about masculinity, if you will.
I do think that there is a direct correlation between someone's testosterone and their politics. I would love to have a study done on this, on young men The lower their testosterone, the more likely they are to be Democratic. Democrats are not going to be able to win over high testosterone men because they're too self-directed. So differently, the lower your testosterone is, the more, of course, the more likely you are going to be subservient and compliant. Our republic needs alpha men.
So, in Charlie Kirk's world, high T means manliness, rebellion, and maybe a MAGA hat. Low T, and you're apparently lining up for your 9th booster and asking the government to tuck you in.
And you know what? The sad part about it, it's effective. It's extremely effective. Look at the manosphere. Look at the impact, right? Look at how that message of alpha, right? Look, think about how many people are fucking triggered in the chat just because I have fucking nail polish on. Can you imagine being that weak of character? That's something that's important to you? To be literally offended and triggered by everything? The same people, the same men who walk around claiming to be alpha are the weakest, most scared, cowardice, feckless, embarrassing people I've ever met in my life. They are so pitiful. And yet here they are. I have been in lives and I've heard people in lives when asked a question like, would you let your daughter hang around with Donald Trump? And the answer is yes. Would you let your daughter hang out with a drag queen? Hell no. The bear wins again. It is just whatever's going to happen with Trump's going to happen with Trump, right? Whatever's going to happen with him, and I firmly believe, and I'll say this again, I firmly believe that they are done. They being the Peter Thiels of the world, the big, deep-pocketed Republican donors, right? Those people are just done because every single day that fucking monster opens his mouth and says something despicable like those lips, Kayleigh McEnany. Here you go, MAGA. Here you go. This is what I would like you to do. I would like you to walk up to one of your female coworkers and say, oh man, your lips, damn, whew, those lips. You'd be out in your fucking ass. Likely. Hopefully you would. But yet, that's your boy. You cheer that shit. You fucking cheer for it. I don't ever want this story to go away. Ever. I refuse to let this story go away. To me, because it's more than just the politics side of it. It's basic fucking humanity. Like we are sitting here. We are, how do I want to say this? We're discussing ways in which the right is attempting to defend the actions of a serial sex trafficker and abuser. And they're trying to figure out ways to distance Donald Trump from the circumstance. Maybe Ghislaine Maxwell's the victim. This is weaponized. The same people that accused Joe Biden of being this doddering and doddering old man, couldn't do shit, is also saying that he weaponized the DOJ against him. Which is it? Which one is it? Which one? He's either a robot who can't put two sentences together, who drools on himself, or he's a global criminal mastermind who organized a plot to go out and get all conservatives. Which one is it? It's all political. I didn't say a word about Diddy. Diddy's a fucking monster. Are you kidding me? Diddy's a total fucking monster, and Donald Trump has alluded to potentially pardoning Diddy as well. Frank, where the fuck have you been, Frank? It's all political for you. You didn't say a word. Where the fuck have you been? I'm up here talking about all fucking predators. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit who you are. I don't fucking care who you are. I don't care. I'm not up here trying to make excuses for anybody. I want full transparency. It's your party that is trying to defend a predator. It's your party that said, it's just locker room talk. What's on your fucking hard drive there, Frank? What's on your hard drive? You can't defend it. You can't defend it. So, what does the right do in this case? They attempt to create distractions. Okay? They attempt to create distractions. So the first distraction when this came out was Tulsi Gabbard, Barack Obama, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to even spend time on that because we have dissected that so often. There's just absolutely no credibility to anything that she has said about this. None at all. There's no credibility. They have failed in an attempt to try to drum up some fucking nonsense. Do I have any? I played that one for you guys. Again, this is related to the jobs numbers, but this sound, I don't even know if the president even realizes what he said here, but this is telling to me. And I just fucking crazy when he says this. All right. So the question was somebody asking about trusting the numbers, right? So, and this was his answer.
Going forward, why should anyone trust the numbers?
So the question's asked, going forward, why should anyone trust the numbers? Okay.
Well, that's
if
you're right.
You're right.
No, you're right. Why should anybody trust numbers? You go back to election day. Look what happened 2 or 3 days before with massive, wonderful job numbers, trying to get him elected or her elected, trying to get whoever the hell was running.
So there's the whole tell. I mean, and that to me, the whole BLS thing is synonymous with the entire MAGA movement. We are going to blame everybody else. You can't trust the numbers. All right. So when you're asked a question, what should people do if they can't trust the numbers? You're right. Why should anybody trust the numbers? Okay. So what the world that we live in now is Lugenpresse. We bring up these historical examples as to why history is rhyming again, because there's historical examples. I'm going to blame everybody else. We're going to blame the LGBTQIA community. We're going to blame the BIPOC community. We're going to blame women. We're going to blame science. We're going to blame the maths. We're going to blame the courts. We're going to blame news media. We're going to blame everybody. Everybody is going to get blamed, except for the people that are actually doing the things that those people are uncovering and complaining about. So we're going to just turn it into everybody else's fault. Okay. Okay, that's fine. More reporting specifically as it relates to this. The FBI redacted Trump's name along with the names of other prominent public figures from references in the Epstein files. 3 people familiar with the matter told Bloomberg's Jason Leopold. Internal directives instructed about 1,000 FBI agents to flag any mention of Trump during a March review of roughly 100,000 pages of records. People familiar with the process told Bloomberg. The Justice Department said the review turned up no client list or evidence linking Trump to criminal activity, despite his name appearing in Epstein's contact book and flight logs. Newsweek has reached out to the FBI via email, but no comment as of yet. The president and senior White House officials have repeatedly said in recent weeks that there was no reason to release the remaining Epstein files, and they have sought to move on from the saga despite calls from Trump's base to release all documents. Just think about that, right? So FBI pulls 1,000 people in to look at over 100,000 pages of information to flag Donald Trump. They flag Donald Trump, they redact his name, and then simultaneously when they release their statement, they say the White House and advisors have repeatedly said in recent weeks that there was no reason to release the remaining files. Why? They have sought to move on. Okay. Bloomberg reports said earlier this year, FBI agents were directed to search for all documents associated with the Epstein case and determine which could be released, totaling tens of thousands of pages, according to Pam Bondi. During the review in March, FBI personnel were said to have identified numerous references to Trump and other high-profile people, with the names then redacted by FOIA officers, Freedom of Information Act officers, because they were private citizens at the time, a common practice under FOIA case law. After the redactions, the files were sent back to Bondi, who then reportedly told Trump in May that his name was in the files. And remember, Trump lied, said I wasn't in the files, I wasn't in the files. Then we got the reporting that Pam Bondi did that, and now his answer was, well, if I'm in there, the Democrats put it in there. Okay. Then in early July, the Justice Department and FBI released a joint statement saying they had concluded that no further documents needed to be disclosed. While we have labored to provide the public with maximum information regarding Epstein, the statement said, it is a determination of the DOJ and the FBI that no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. Huh. Okay. Privacy concerns, thank you, Victoria. Privacy concerns and protections for victims have been cited as reasons for withholding additional material, a decision that has drawn bipartisan criticism and renewed scrutiny of the files handling. Trump has said he believes his name was added to the files by Barack Obama and others within Barack's administration. Trump and Epstein, both New Yorkers, first knew each other in the late 80s. There were several documented instances of the pair socializing and partying in the years that followed, including Mar-a-Lago and in New York, etc. And remember, people want to talk about the island, and I said this to you guys last week, and I want people to remember this, okay? I want people to remember this. The right's going to base this on, oh, he wasn't at the island. Well, we know he's on the flights. And Maria Farmer, Stacey Williams, and Temple Taggart all talk about their abuse in New York, either at Epstein's place or at Trump Tower, okay? So don't get distracted by the right attempting to say, well, he was over at the island. Well, we've got flight records, okay? So we know that he was on the flight logs. We know that. We also know that Donald Trump had his own plane. So whether he was on the Lolita Express or not, we have pictures of them together on the plane. So it doesn't matter. Let them think that. Just remind them, well, what about the incident of crime of Mar-a-Lago and Mar-a-Lago? I'm sorry, or Mar-a-Lago, or at Trump Tower, or at Epstein's place, right? They spent about 15 years as friends per Trump's own recounting. He told New York Magazine in 2002 that Epstein was, quote, a terrific guy. In his testimony, Jeffrey Epstein said that he considered Donald Trump his closest friend. The president has said that he then fell out with Epstein and had not talked to him in more than a decade before the financier's arrest in 2019. Schmepstein, a convicted offender, took his own life behind bars that year while awaiting trial on trafficking charges. Epstein owned a private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands where he held lavish parties, but also allegedly carried out the abuse of young girls. In 2020, prosecutors alleged a criminal enterprise took place on the island, with Epstein transporting underage girls and young women to the island to be used for schmecks by those in his inner circle. Some victims were as young as 11. Epstein's estate settled a $105 million lawsuit in 2022 with the U.S. Virgin Islands. Records have shown that Trump took at least 8 flights on Epstein's private jet between 1993 and 1997, but they were between New York and Florida. The saga over the files related to Epstein's case renewed questions over whether Trump had ever gone further and visited the Epstein island, the island Epstein owned. On Monday, Trump told reporters he never had the privilege of visiting, and that he turned down an invitation from Epstein to go. President Trump told reporters earlier this week, this whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released it. Robert Garcia, California Democrat, NBC, said Friday, Donald Trump, after spending years campaigning, promising to release the files, making it central to his whole message when running for the presidency, has now done a complete flip-flop. He is obviously hiding something. While Trump seeks to distance himself from the case, questions continue to come from all sides of the political spectrum over the unreleased files. So can we, I was going to ask the question, but I know that the people that are in the chat that are Trump supporters are never going to believe it. Can we just get the information? That's all we want. I don't care. I'm not going to be heartbroken if some person who I liked ends up on the fucking list. I want them all arrested. Have you guys, is there anybody in MAGA, anybody that's willing to come up here and say, yeah, he's probably on the list? And then defend it? Yeah, I know Elon said the same thing. And it's amazing to me that there's so many people that are, like I said before, trying to defend this. How the fuck can you defend it? We're not talking about stealing baseball cards. We're not talking about, skipping out on insurance. We're not talking about fraud. We're not talking about, falsification of business records 34 times as a convicted felon. We're not talking about that. We are talking about abuse against 11-year-old girls. We're talking about trafficking. We're talking about sexual assault and rape. Right? Exactly, Kipper. That's where it's not. There's no navigating through it. It's just abuse. It's rape. It's trafficking. One of the reasons that we find ourselves in this position is because members of the Trump administration are intentionally trying to rewrite history. Okay? So they don't want this information as part of the record, but it is. So when Jasmine Crockett uses what Chrissy Teigen said, that she referred to Donald Trump as a pussy-ass bitch, that is in the congressional record. Okay? So this is another strategy that the right now has in an attempt to try to move away from the nonsense that comes out of Peepaw's mouth.
I'm surprised that it wasn't, the public wasn't notified a long time ago, because to get to stage 9, that's a long time. That's Monroe from the Monroe document.
I don't want to be a wise guy, but when Hitler made his speech at the Eiffel Tower, I would say that wasn't exactly ideal.
Just a quick little fact check here. Cancer only goes up to stage 4. It's the Monroe Doctrine, not document. If you were a wise guy, you'd be wise to know that Hitler never gave a speech at the Eiffel Tower. So it's not hard to see why this administration would decide there's no need for written record of all of that, right? Well, now NBC News has learned that the White House is taking things a step further, scrubbing basically every transcript and making only video and audio of his remarks available. So if you're a journalist, of which there are many out there, looking to cross-reference with an official transcript to quote the President of the United States accurately, too bad for you, there's nothing there. The self-proclaimed most transparent administration in history wants to hide that from you. And again, not hard to see why.
Again, cancer only goes to stage 4, the Monroe Doctrine, and Schmittler never made a speech at the Eiffel Tower. It's so bad. The things that he says are so bad and so pathetic that they are literally removing the transcripts. If you're the most transparent administration, why would you need to do that? Nobody wants to answer that, do you? Thank you to AC. AC, would that be AC? I don't think it's AC. For your $5. Keep up the work, Facts. Please don't ever let them stop talking about it. I know what you mean there, friend. Appreciate you. And then the $2 challenge has been thrown. If you want to support the channel, you can do so. I don't know, I've talked about the integrity of journalism, right? And how important it is and why I think it's vital that we continue to have these conversations. When you are literally just wanting to get rid of the transcripts, how can you justify that, MAGA? How can you on one hand say this is the most transparent administration ever and you want to erase history? You don't want it recorded. Why? Maybe it's because he's a fucking idiot. Maybe it's because he thinks that you can lower drug prices by 1,500%. Right? Maybe. That's just my thought. Okay. So, in an attempt to continue to double down on this distraction, we now have more information connected to the whole, let's remind the base that the black man was mean. The guy who wore the tan suit was a meanie. The guy who was eloquent, smart, sophisticated, talented, family man, empathetic, encouraging, honest, sincere, smart as hell, funny, humorous, empathetic. That guy. Let's remind him, let's remind our base that he's evil. Yeah, exactly, a real president, exactly. So this is from Rolling Stone. MAGA's new Russiagate evidence was likely made up by the Kremlin. Yep, you heard it here first, friends. Donald Trump and his allies are throwing every bucket of chum they can at their base in their ongoing efforts to distract from the administration's bungling of the Epstein case. Bungling would be a compliment. How they have handled this thing is just unbelievable, and they know they're screwed. And this time, they may have caught a fish that's too big even for them to fry. Following a request from Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa, the FBI and the DOJ agreed to declassify the so-called Durham Annex, a 29-page appendix to the Durham report. The annex was made public on Thursday, with FBI Director Kash Patel claiming it was part of a hidden trove of documents buried in a back room at the FBI that contained classified evidence that the Clinton campaign plotted to frame President Trump and fabricate the Russia collusion hoax. It contained no such evidence, but that didn't matter to the Trump allies desperate to cast prominent Democratic figures as anti-American criminals. The original Durham report was released by Trump-appointed special counsel John Durham in 2023 and examined the evidence underlying the federal investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. Durham was unable to find any proof that the FBI or other government entities engaged in prosecutable misconduct targeting Trump. The president and his allies have nevertheless continued to try and fail to prove Democratic misconduct related to the investigation, while alleging that Barack Obama and others should be indicted for treason over the hoax. MAGA Republicans immediately seized on the newly released annex as a smoking gun that proved their allegations. Following the release of the annex on Thursday, the New York Post ran with the headline, "Read the documents that prove Hillary Clinton okayed plan to smear Trump with Russia collusion." White House press sec Caroline Leavitt told reporters that the documents were, quote, further evidence that Hillary Clinton approved the Russia hoax against POTUS, and the FBI and the CIA were both weaponized to accelerate this hoax. John Solomon, another longtime Trump ally, wrote on X that there is, quote, a smoking gun evidence inside the Durham annex. If it is authenticated by further investigation, it means liberal mega donor George Soros and his team knew the whole Clinton plan for Russiagate. Okay. Senator Chuck Grassley wrote in a statement that these intelligence reports and related records, whether true or false, were buried for years. They weren't actually. And in his view, contained proof that, quote, the Obama FBI failed to adequately review and investigate intelligence reports showing the Clinton campaign may have been ginning up the fake Trump-Russia narrative for Clinton's political gain, which was ultimately done through the Steele dossier and other means. In reality, the previously classified documents seem to suggest that some of the supposed evidence Patel and others are touting as proof of their conspiracies was actually fabricated by Russian intelligence. I'm telling you, can't make this shit up. Amid heavy redactions, the annex states that 2 emails supposedly written by individuals working for billionaire George Soros' Open Society Foundation suggest that Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign was interested in carrying out plans to demonize Putin and Trump, were ultimately a composite of several emails that were obtained through Russian intelligence hacking of the U.S.-based think tanks, including the Open Society Foundation, the Carnegie Endowment Foundation, and others. Durham's assessment is that these emails were likely Frankenstein fabrications made up by Russian instigators and thus not authentic. You literally cannot make this shit up. The information that they're now citing is all part of the Russian propaganda in the first place, which, by the way, confirms that, yes, in fact, Russia meddled in the election. It's like, what? The misguided right-wing reaction to the annex tracks with the ultimate idea behind the Durham investigation. As previously reported by the New York Times, the more than 3 years after that, Durham, at the direction of Trump's Justice Department, spent trying to find evidence of criminal wrongdoing against the president, eventually turned into a fishing expedition against the Clinton campaign. In the face, this is great, in the face of growing scandal over his relationship with Epstein and his administration's refusal to release evidence and documents related to the dead offender's case, Trump is trying to redirect his base's attention to the nearly decade-old Russian investigation. Bringing up Obama, Clinton, and supposed deep state plots is usually a reliable method to bury stories he'd rather not have under public scrutiny, even if nothing ever comes of it. It's another ticking time bomb for himself, a Trump advisor recently told Rolling Stone of Trump's recent push to have Obama and other prominent Democrats prosecuted. We are promising them that these people committed the crime of the century and that Dems are going down for this. What if we don't take them down? That would be another broken promise. So again, this new information, the Durham Annex, this is information that's already been public, not buried, confirms again, once again, that Russia interfered in the 2016 election. Everybody knows it. Tulsi Gabbard knows it. Marco Rubio knows it. Mueller report knows it. Durham report knows it. The intelligence community knows it. Everybody knows it. Do you get it, MAGA? You guys are being played again. The reason that they're playing you is because they think you're dumb. They don't think you're very smart. They think you're going to click on a headline. They think you're going to see a headline from the New York Post that says this. What was the Post's headline? Read the documents that prove Hillary Clinton okayed plan to smear Trump with Russia collusion. You're going to see that headline, and you're going to put it up in the background of one of your lives, and you're going to say, see this? There's the proof right here. And then I'll go in there and ask you a question like, what did the article say? Oh, what do you mean? Like, well, what did it say? It means that Hillary Clinton and Obama, that guy, they fucking, you know, they did shit on Trump. Well, is that what it says? Did you read it? Well, the Durham report. Well, what was in the Durham report? Well, the Durham report. Have you read the intelligence community report from Marco Rubio, the Republican? Well, he's a rhino. You see? right? Like, you see? Where do you go now? Where do you go with this information? Where do you go? That's your hope? And it's literally even, have you noticed there's been no right-wing support? They're not even talking about it on Fox. Fox doesn't want to go down that road again. They're not even talking about it. They're not even talking about it. Very rarely do they even reference it. If they bring it up, it's like a pivot. Like, what are they gonna do? You're gonna literally spend your time going after Barack Obama? People don't want that. Your 10 million mouth breathers do, but nobody else does. It's like this information has been public. It's been out for years. Tulsi Gabbard knows this. She's even gone on the record saying, "Yeah, I know Russia interfered in our election. Yeah, I know that." And now, no, it wasn't Russia. It was the Obama administration. The claim that Barack Obama went publicly and said that the Russians hacked voting machines, when he actually said the opposite. They don't have the technology to hack voting machines. So which is it? What? I'm telling you, you guys are just so fucking desperate to try to pin something on somebody other than your boy. It ain't working though. That's why we're here. Okay. We've got some new reporting about some of his poll numbers. We talked about this and how, he's hemorrhaging. And I think a lot of it has to do with what we're seeing now, right? We now know the Bureau of Labor Statistics. There was reporting that he's looking to replace an expert. I forgot what the headline was. Let me see if I can find it for you. Thank you, Maris. Thank you. I got Marais and Maris, two names I don't know. So thank you very much for your $40. She said, why haven't other people contributed? I don't know. But thank you. What did it say here? Hold on a second. Okay. This was an hour ago. Last week's job report was rigged. This is from Trump on Truth Social. Just like the numbers prior to the presidential elections were rigged. That's why in both cases there was massive record-setting revisions in favor of the radical left Democrats. Those big adjustments were made to cover up and level out the fake political numbers that were concocted in order to make a great Republican success look stellar. I will pick an exceptional replacement. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I will pick an exceptional replacement. Okay. And again, that exceptional replacement, according to Steve Bannon, is this.
And have we put in our own person into BLS? Is a MAGA Republican that President Trump knows and trusts? Are they running the Bureau of Labor Statistics yet, sir?
No, unfortunately, Steve, we still haven't gotten there. And I think that's part of the reason why we continue to have all of these different data problems.
Is that the reason why? Or are you guys just fucking liars? I don't know. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. I think this is an interesting story that I don't know. I'm not sure where it's how it's gonna play out, but we know last week and this is all related because investigations in the House of Representatives are gonna be opened up, and I say this big picture because people who are like, for example, I believe this is what I would support. I would like an investigation into every single ICE officer who illegally detained someone. Every single one of them. I would like a record of information on every single person who did that. They're covering their faces. We don't know if they're real. We had that story last week that they're offering a sign-on bonus of like $10,000 and then to have their student loans forgiven if they become an ICE officer. I would like public record of every one of those individuals, and I would like an investigation into every single one of them for violating people's rights. because that's what they're doing. So that's why elections matter for lots of reasons, right? So as you know, the Texas GOP looking to gerrymander the shit out of their state because Donald Trump has told them to find 5 more seats. And then there was response as to how the Democrats can respond. Texas Democrats leave the state to delay the GOP redistricting vote. This is reported by Straight Arrow News. By the way, I like Straight Arrow News. I'm not sponsored by them, but if they want to sponsor me, that'd be great. I just like it because they do this bias filter, and they literally will go to the source of the story, and then they'll say who's covering it and how. And you can find where the contradictions are. And then what they'll also do is they'll say, this was a headline covering the story from the right. This is a headline covering the story from the left. And these are the facts. So I just like it. Democratic state lawmakers reportedly left Texas yesterday, the day before a vote is scheduled on a new congressional map that would give Republicans 5 more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. The Texas Tribune wrote that 62 state House Democrats fled the state. This is not a decision we make lightly, but it is one that we make with absolute moral clarity. House Democratic Caucus Chair and State Rep Gene Wu said in a statement. He added that Governor Greg Abbott used an intentionally racist map to steal the voices of millions of Black and Latino Texans, all to execute a corrupt political ideal. To conduct business in the House, which has 150 seats, there needs to be at least 100 state representatives in attendance. This means the lawmakers' absence could stall the rest of the Texas legislature's special session, where they had regulations for edible hemp and bills about the response to floods, such as the one that occurred on July 4th on the agenda, along with redistricting. Now, Republicans are going to say Democrats are not interested in helping flood victims. Let them say it. Let them say it. Democrats are not interested in pushing regulations for edible hemp. Let them say it. Let them say it. They've gone to Illinois. J.B. Pritzker's family made their money in Hyatt, I think, and he's offered to put them up. Okay? Wu said in a statement that he put on he put out the Democrats, quote, will not allow disaster relief to be held hostage to a Trump gerrymander. We're not walking out on our responsibilities. We're walking out in a rigged system that refuses to listen to the people we represent. As of today, this corrupt special session is over. Most of the House Democrats leaving Texas were headed to Chicago, the Tribune wrote, while others went to New York. Texas Republicans unveiled a redrawn map of the state's congressional districts on Wednesday, and it was immediately met with criticism from their Democratic counterparts. Still, a House committee approved the congressional maps on Saturday, August 2nd. They got to get the vote, though. Republican State Rep Cody Visso defended the maps to NBC on Saturday, saying this map was politically based, and that's totally legal, totally allowed, and totally fair. You got states like California and New York and Illinois that have these really large margins between the percentage of seats they have and the percentage of votes that they're getting. And Texas is underperforming in that. And so it's totally prudent, totally right for Texas to be able to respond and improve the political performance of its map. Dude, did you realize that you just admitted it? The reason that New York and Illinois and California are considering doing this too is because you fucking started this. So, you know, you get what you pay for. Under House rules imposed in 2023, Texas lawmakers who went out of the state are subject to arrest and a $500 a day fine for breaking quorum. Democrats in the Texas House who try and run away like cowards should be found, arrested, and brought back to the Capitol immediately, said Ken Paxton, Attorney General. We should use every tool at our disposal to hunt down those who think they are above the law. Texas House Speaker Dustin Burrows said on X that his chamber is set to convene at 3 p.m. local time today. If a quorum is not present then, to borrow the recent talking points from some of my Democratic colleagues, all options are on the table. Okay? So this is a line in the sand. Don't forget, this was a special session that was called, right? And they're going to attempt to use, Democrats are going to walk out of their responsibilities. Democrats are standing up for their voters. Now, I've said this publicly, and I think I don't like this. I don't like you, because you're suppressing the vote. That's what you're doing, right? Whether you are doing it, to support Republicans or Democrats, you're still suppressing the vote. I get it, though. If that's the game that you're going to play, if you are literally going to illegitimately redraw new maps between the census to try to, based on the direction that Donald Trump said, I need you to find me 5 more seats, then what choice did the Democrats have? Which is why, Gavin Newsom, I'll be watching you. Because you've gone public And you said you're going to do the same thing. California, to use your words, California will respond in kind. J.B. Pritzker in Illinois has suggested something similar. Kathy Hochul in New York, right? You need the Trinity. You need the control of the state house and control of the legislature. All bets are off. Once it happens, I would like to see legislation introduced that says no more gerrymandering. That's it. No more. No more. Because no one should want it. No one should want illegally drawn maps just to win the election. Nobody should want that. But I get it. I'm down for it. And I was doing some research on this. So the predictions so far, if all things were level and there was no redistricting, there was no gerrymandered maps, right? The predictions, again, you guys know how I feel about election predicting polls. The predictions are about a 7 to 10 seat Democratic majority in the House. All things being considered, all things being equal, right? That's the prediction right now, right? So part of the reason that the Republicans want those 5 seats is so they feel like they have a better shot, or if they lose the House, the margins won't be as severe. There is talk potentially of 9 or so seats in California, 7 or 9, I forget how many it is. It might be 7 or 9. There's talk about them literally getting rid of any Republican district in California through gerrymandering. Illinois, 4 or 5. New York State, 4 or 5. So that number that goes from 7 to 10 to like 20 to 25 potentially. And then then there's no impact to be able to measure the political wins as they are, meaning that people are just disgusted with the Republican Party. We've seen voters Republicans going back to their districts and just getting hammered over the big beautiful bill. Absolutely getting fucking destroyed about government spending, getting destroyed about promises made, promises broken. Absolutely getting fucking destroyed and so who knows? So does it suppress Republican voting in general? Does it change people's minds? Because then we talked about independence, right? We've seen this massive shift in polling. So I'm going to play a little sound for you guys from a polling perspective. So Mr. Trump, again, in that infamous press conference in Scotland that I'm sure at this point that they wish never existed, but we have the sound. So he's talking about his approval, and this is wild.
My poll numbers are up 4.5 points.
They're not.
Since this ridiculous Epstein stuff. My poll numbers have gone up 4.5 points.
Nope.
Because people don't buy it.
Trump's net approval rating. Look, he started off back in January +6 points on the net approval rating. -3 in March, -7 in May. And now he's at a term too low at -11 points. His net approval rating has dropped nearly 20 points in the aggregate since the beginning of his presidency. The American people do not like what they're seeing.
Yeah. So again, that's kind of where he sits right now. He is the least popular president ever. He's even beating his own record from the first term. Every single measurable statistic, with the exception of border and immigration, he's upside down on. Everyone. It's not that complicated. It's not that hard to see what's happening. And he's just going to fall into that trap again. And the evidence is overwhelmingly against him. So we'll see.
Hello there, Fat.
Auntie Biscuit, how are you today?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. Not bad. Just a little FYI, because it's something you might have missed in the sea of your own media, which is understandable. Are you aware there's 2 cities of London? There's obviously the financial city, and then you've got like the Greater London city.
Yeah, I learned that recently. Yes, I learned that recently. Yeah.
So there's 2 Lord Mayors. There's one that Donald Trump has literally dumped on, which is Sadiq Khan, and then you've got the Lord Mayor of the financial city of London. Well, that Lord Mayor of the financial city of London and his chamber are considering giving Donald Trump the keys to the city of London on his visit.
Lovely. Super. Yeah. That's just fabulous.
It's grotesque. It's disgusting. It's something that's very worrisome. On the plus side, there appears to be upwards of between 3 to 5 million people from all the parts of the UK who are going to be descending on London during his visit to shut it down. Which
yeah, we saw how he was greeted in Scotland when he went there. So not surprised.
Yeah, it's like I don't like. Obviously, I'm very much in touch with your politics. What is happening? Obviously, there are things that I'm going to miss because I obviously deal with a lot with Ukraine and what's happening over this side of the pond. So just like you, we miss things over the pond. But one thing that I think might be really useful, and it's just something that I've been thinking of for a while, which is maybe, I don't know, people like yourself and maybe a couple of others, the big hitters on the app sort of thing, could run a couple of lives during the next few weeks and through September, which targets British people, so that the knowledge about what's actually happening in America gets to filter out, and that way we can actually from an external perspective make Donald Trump a very uncomfortable person to ever allow, not only back in our country, but also it would make it so internationally the word gets out, because there's a lot of our own BS that is kind of hiding a lot of the stuff he's doing.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think it's hard to navigate because so many things domestically. We have a lot to cover here. I mean, I'd like to think that the things we cover here would resonate for lots of people around the world because, sadly, American entitlement means that we have influence on lots of countries around the world. So I think the topics are relevant. It might be difficult to dedicate something specifically, but I hear what you're saying. I think it's fair.
Yeah, maybe like, I don't know, just when he's in the UK, just say we're going to do like a UK US special, and maybe that might throw you out to the algorithm to the UK a bit more as well. And do you know what I mean? It's just because like the thing is we all know the money men and women of this world love to give each other fellatio, and that's how it seems to work. And it would appear that is exactly what they're going to do with Donald Trump. They are literally going to worship him because it's the City of London, and his messing around with your stock exchange has also impacted our stock exchange, and billionaires have gotten richer while the rest of us, including our 401ks, or as we just call them, strict pensions, have gone down subsequently since all the tariff messing around and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it's a fair idea. If you're not in our Discord, Monty, please join our Discord, and then you can message me directly in there just to kind of keep it top of mind. But I think there's I'm thinking about something big picture about the global impact, obviously. But I appreciate you jumping in and thanks for your idea.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Have a good day. See you later.
And you.
Yeah, it's a fair thought. Obviously we can. Yeah, my brain's calculating. Deuce, how are you today?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, Steve. I was researching this, the thing in Texas with the Democrats, basically leaving Texas, and I was shocked. I looked on Texas.gov, and 47% of the voters in Texas are Democrats, which is the majority. I think it's like 8 million something, and then 6 million are listed as Republican, and then you have the other different independent parties or whatever. And then if you look at that, so 47% are registered Democrats. For the House of Representatives, right now, currently, there are 25 Republicans as representatives and only 12 Democrats, even though 47% of the registered voters are Democrats. With this new trying to steal these 5 House seats, that would make it 32, I believe, Republican seats to 7 Democrat seats in the House, even though 47% of Texas is registered Democrat voters. And this was, like I say, I think it was on Texas.gov or something that I seen these stats. It was on a .gov or something. I just find that mind-blowing. And then one last thing, Steve. Everyone says, oh, well, Dems gerrymandered. Well, if you research and look up the top 10 gerrymandered states, they're all Republican and or red states. And
Correct.
so to say that Dems are Dems aren't doing this. Dems are just going to have to go low, I think, because Republicans continue to go low. I agree with you. Gerrymandering should be outlawed. There should be an issue with it. But Dems have sat back and played the right way for so long, and I guess people are just tired of it.
Yep, I agree, Deuce. I agree. Thank you for jumping in today. I appreciate you, friend. Thanks for being here. Yeah, absolutely right. Totally agree. And we discussed this a little bit last week about how one of the reasons that I think that Democrats score so low from a favorability perspective is because people want the Democrats to do something. Like, stop being so feckless. Stop writing strongly worded letters, right? Do something. And this is something. So you're already starting to see a shift. You've seen movement in this polling. It used to be like a 16-point gap between Democrats and Republicans. It's like 4 points now, the margin of error. So, I think it's dangerous. And by the way, thank you, mods. GOP Rep Kevin Kiley is introducing a bill to block all 50 states from redrawing congressional maps before the 2030 census per release. Kiley says it would stop a damaging redistricting war from breaking out across the country. I agree with that. I agree. If you're going to do it right now, right? Then you can't gerrymander. Nobody can. You're not allowed to do it. You cannot gerrymander from this point forward. Congressional maps that we had going into the 2024 elections remain the same, and no one can do it. And then you allow politics to politic. We certainly know that this is a tactic and a strategy that the right's going to use. Thank you to Dewana for your $10 on Cash App. Dewana, thank you so much. You said thank you for keeping a light on DT's schmexual crimes. Thank you, Dewana. Valerie, thank you for your $10, keeping us informed. And thank you. You're very, very welcome. I appreciate you saying that. You guys are kind. Also, thank you to, thank you, Dana. Appreciate you. Kipper for the win. Exactly. Kipper for the win. So I don't know where the story's going to go, but I do think it's interesting a lot to me. Let me put it this way. If Texas does this, so who knows how long the special session is going to stay in place. I think you can leave the special session open forever, and it's a $500 a day. And apparently there's reporting from a lot of big pocketed Democratic donors, and I hope there are, for paying these fees, because it's $500 a day per individual, right? That was something the Republicans passed because they didn't want the Democrats to do this again. Right now, though, the Democratic legislature can't do shit. Because the Texas legislature, I should say, can't do shit because they don't have a quorum. They need a certain number, and because the Democrats have left town, they're stuck, which I think is great. Which I think is great. We'll see where it goes. All right, more from that crazy ass fucking interview that he did with Sean. What's his name again? Russ Finnery. Yeah, Finnerty. The same interview in which he said, "Those lips on Caroline, those lips." Fucking weird shit, man. He's so fucking weird. Okay, this is a sound from that interview.
First of all, the files were run by some very bad people and very sick people like Comey and Lisa, the whole group, all those people in that office. They ran those files for 4 years. And if they were going to use the files, they would have used it before my election. Right. Because unless they're stupid, which to a certain extent they are stupid.
You're saying they would have released the information?
Well, they had the files. They control the files. Yes. I didn't control the files. They control the files for 4 years. So if they had something, they would have released it before the election, because they are not geniuses, but they're evil. Right. There are a lot of evil people. So I can't really tell you much other than Todd went in, and I think he just wants to make sure that innocent people aren't hurt. But you'd have to speak to him about it.
Okay. I want to ask you about, I didn't realize she'd be in the room, but she's on my list. Caroline Levitt.
She's become a star. It's that face, it's that brain, it's those lips, the way they move like she's a machine gun. Is she in the room?
She's in the room.
She's a star, and she's great. She's a great person, actually, but she's, I don't think anybody has ever had a better press secretary than Caroline. She's been amazing.
Mr. Press came out this morning. I guess they were lower than expected, but you've announced that you're firing your a Biden appointee, the head of the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Her name, Dr. Erica McIntarfer. Tell us about what was going on here.
Well, it's a Biden appointee, and we've had problems in the past, and we had problems even before the election. You remember those wonderful results that were put out just before the election, and everybody said, where do they come from? Then I think they adjusted it after the election, and we had some difficulties with her, and there have been a lot of questions, and we fired her because we didn't believe the numbers today. Even though interest rates are too high, we have a terrible head of the Fed. He keeps interest rates too high. And I could understand that, but I don't believe those numbers. I think because we're doing so well, and we fired her. This is not something from just now. This was before the election, where she got, meaning Kamala. We thought it was Biden, but turned out being Kamala, where they got very, very strong numbers. I said, what's this all about? And they adjusted them, and then later on they adjust them, I guess, downward. But we don't want that. We want straight numbers.
The markets today are up and down. Today is tariff day. Today was an important day, but you've had another
Yeah, tariff day that got moved out again, right? Cool.
incredible week that doesn't get the attention it probably should. There were several A-list events this week. The GDP numbers were great.
Right.
We had a surplus in June. Inflation is, I think, 2.4%. What's
2.7%. Let's be real.
your message to Americans who might be concerned about paying more, perhaps even in the short term, for things that they need?
Well, before the message, I have to say that I think that these numbers were incorrect today. Not that they were horrible. I've seen much worse numbers than this, but I think that these numbers were incorrect today because nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw the smaller numbers not only announced, but going back and restating her numbers because she made a mistake. You know, that was the bigger numbers. So I think that we have it down again. We brought it down.
To clarify, she did not make a mistake, okay? The numbers are what they are. The maths is what it is. She did not make a mistake. The revision happens after the impact of what you predicted might happen. She did not make a mistake. Let's be very clear.
But prices are down. You know, when I hear the Democrats, they come out with sound bites. They say, prices are up under Trump. No.
Yes, they are.
They're way down. I brought them way down. What? Even eggs. You remember the first week, Rob, I went in and they said, eggs are up 4 or 5 times. It was like crazy what was happening with eggs. Don't buy eggs. I fixed that, and I fixed it rapidly before Easter.
How did you fix that, Mr. President? Can you tell us?
And so many other things. But prices are actually way down.
Really?
Prices are down for groceries. They're down for energy, oil. You see what's happening with oil. We have some states where it's $1.99 a gallon.
Right, cool.
More typically $2.33 a gallon.
Cool.
And they were at $3.90. They were really much higher than that during terms of the Biden administration.
Okay.
He took our energy policy, which was unbelievable. He ended it. And then he tried to bring it back as fast as he could because you were going to go up to $7 or $8 a gallon. So he brought it back, but that didn't work out too well. No, we're doing a great job.
Emails, Mr. President.
He goes, I can explain. Where's Tyrone's level 1300? Change the shoes? I like my shoes. Oh, too late. You're right. I should have done the banana shoes. Nothing to explain, Tyrone. Interesting. I hate, dude, people that run around slide kicking everyone are absolute weirdos. Xander with a 5 just got back from Handsome and Humble Island. Sounds like a great show. Xander, thank you. He goes, everyone there knew you. Good morning, Vix. How we doing? How we doing? What is happening? Bruh. Yes, Dead Mouse is gonna be in the item shop tomorrow. We just got him early. When was the last time you streamed at nighttime fully? North Korean zone wars took me out. Okay, now Tyrone's playing gooning game. By the way, the fact that these are approved maps is insane. Literally, the fact that these are all approved Fortnite maps is bizarre and beyond me. Not just approved, they're making money. True. I'm gonna make a map called Oiled Up. Jack, can anyone confirm that that chapter 5 Only Up is officially out? I'm not gonna lie, I'm making a video on it. My creative videos are popping off. We'll have another brain rot video up today. I got admin perms, so we'll be uploading that. Shout out to the map creators. Why am I crouched? On the Only Up return? Maybe. I'll make Oiled Up Zone Wars. It's Shark. Shark just sacrificed a child. Bad. Put him down. Put him down. No. What? You guys can't keep sacrificing children. No. No. Bad. Everyone bad. You're all banned. You're all banned. It's just like the Lion King, just throwing children off the edge of the mountain. Oh, they'll be fine. No, they won't. They won't be fine. It's like watching a mountain goat get tossed down a mountain and just live. It don't make no sense. But they already have the medallion. Wait, this team's moving, bro. I have no mobility. I'm dead. GG's chat. Oh, you had the medallion. Thanks. You had no ammo, too. I need his ammo. Wait, they're not even on the same team. Bro, what was that? That's what I'm saying. Trios is kind of fire, chat. So much better than Squad. Squad's body. Dog Avery is getting old. Yeah, it's kind of how it works, man. I'd be more concerned if I was getting young. Oh, I didn't get any of the ammo. I don't think they had ammo, to be honest. What the F? LMO, we have Tyrone going to North Korea to goon in the middle of zone wars, and now we have friendlies sacrificing children. We're gonna literally make a TikTok the last time I add any of my viewers. Avery is still aging? What? This is blasphemy. News to me, chat. He did not make chapter 5 yet? Okay, Sky, that's what I thought. I was gonna say, I don't even think they're gonna make a chapter. I mean, I lied. They are. I think they need the assets, though. For some reason, they still don't have the assets for the map. As we're watching on school computers. Bro, I'm not gonna lie. Every single person that I meet, like in public, it says the same exact thing. Like, I don't think content creators that were huge back in the prime of Fortnite realize, like, how big we actually were. That's good. We're taking the bots out first, but there's a real team going around.
Ultimately, you got to be able to control your person. You got to be able to control your person, and she can't do it. But of all the people, but especially now, you are leaving open to interpretation as to whether or not you're going to pardon Diddy for his crimes and Ghislaine Maxwell for hers, and she is in the center of this. That is just mind-boggling to me. Like, crazy talk. How you doing, kid?
All right, what's going on, kid? Hey, listen, you know, he was talking about the files of Epstein being controlled by Comey. Wouldn't the files have been created when they arrested Epstein during his term?
That's correct. Yeah, it's a little detail they don't like to talk
early
about.
in his term?
He did.
So Comey wouldn't be around when those files were created, would he?
Correct.
Oh,
well,
gee, that's...
Yeah, that I guess the timing is such. The investigation was happening, but Epstein went to court or went to jail in 2019 and then took his own life in 2019. Allegedly took his life.
But Comey, when did he fire Comey? In 2017, or
2000 and let's see, she was there. He was there. I'd have to check. I think 2018. The timing is probably similar.
Yeah, but you know, for him to create it, you think that'd be evidently. I guess the one who's very upset, hates people talking about this is Melania.
Yeah,
because if you want to believe
she's married to a rapist,
that Melania was a high class, high value escort run by Ghislaine Maxwell. Maybe that's why she doesn't want that out there, because that's how they met, through Epstein and Maxwell.
Yeah, they introduced. Yeah, that apparently Jeffrey Epstein talked about how Trump and Melania, the first time they had sex was on Epstein's plane and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, that's how the two of them met. So it's ridiculous. But what's absolutely ridiculous is he's normalized lying so badly that a few weeks ago he completely made up a story about his uncle and Ted Kaczynski that was so
MIT.
made up that it's in 5 seconds anyone with Google could figure out that the story was completely false. Because there was absolutely no way in the world that his uncle ever met Ted Kaczynski.
Nope, based on the
And
timing.
even if
That's
he had
exactly
been
right.
Ted Kaczynski, he would not have known Ted Kaczynski was a Unabomber because his uncle died before Ted Kaczynski was identified as such. So
Correct.
But people, it's just now. Do you think I'm trying to figure out? Do you think MAGA? There's a certain percentage of them that yes, they love him, so they're not going to believe anything bad about him. I understand that, but
By the way, Chris, Comey was dismissed. Comey was dismissed May of 2017. Thank you, Eric.
Okay, so yeah, see again the timing on time, but I think there's a percentage of MAGA who in their eyes can do no wrong, but I also think a percentage of MAGA is just will not admit they were wrong for supporting him.
Well, that's the cult mindset.
Yeah.
Right? I'm gonna reach out to our friend Daniela, see if I can get her to join now because it feels different now. So the cult. So from what I've learned from her and what I've read about the cult behavior, the only thing you really can't do is talk against the cult. So when you are indoctrinated so deeply with the orange paint and or the Kool-Aid, your entire identity is connected to the Trump message. So if you start to poke holes in it, then your entire identity then is on the hook, so to speak.
Yeah, you can't talk against the dear leader. That's not allowed because otherwise,
correct.
Boom. Also, I meant to say to you, because you talked about this whole male loneliness BS. You're absolutely right. The whole thing is self-inflicted. The whole incel crap, that's all self-inflicted.
Correct.
These kids nowadays, these younger kids, they have no clue how to talk to women. They're in that whole bro frat boy culture. They've had too much access early on to con, so that's warped their whole view.
Correct.
So they have no idea. So they have no idea.
Wait, you mean corn's not real? What?
Con's not real.
I'm kidding.
Except the ones I've made, but that's a whole other story. That's for Facts After Dark, which that's a whole other story. You have to get me much more elevated to tell those stories.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. It's all self-inflicted. They have no clue how to talk to women. I have done so much better, so much out of my league with women because you talk to them and you make them laugh. Learn how they are as a person. That's all. It's not that hard.
Treat people with kindness and respect and honesty and sincerity and be vulnerable and be accountable and just be honest. Yeah, that's a game that MAGA doesn't know how to play. But it's not that hard. I appreciate you, buddy, as always.
All right, how about them socks?
Go fucking socks. Talk to you later, kid. Have a good day. Be good. Go have some sausage and peppers on me, dude. Like whatever. Yeah, exactly, Jess. Facts after dark. Exactly. We love you, Chris. No, he's right? Like I think in case you guys weren't aware of what he was referring to, I was talking about this concept of the male loneliness epidemic. I think it's fucking bullshit. It's completely self-inflicted. The reason that, from my perspective, the reason that men are lonely is because they're fucking idiots. And they support this guy, or they believe that men are at the top of the kingdom and they can say and do whatever the hell they want. There's lots of reasons. So it's the young conservative men that are complaining as to why they're lonely. Like, why don't women want to talk to me? Gee, I don't know, dude. Maybe it's because of the red hat on your fucking head. I don't understand why I can't have these deep relationships. Maybe because you talk about your fucking politics and you're a fucking pig and you're a monster and you support this kind of shit. And just by and large, just women are smarter than we are anyway. Who was I talking to? I was out, I forget where I was, but I was having some food and you ever seen the Red Bull event where they build these like bikes or these planes and they push them off a platform and you see how far the plane has to fly? And like 99% of the people involved are all dudes. And I'm thinking that's just another example as to why women live longer, right? Like if I were a woman, I wouldn't want to talk to a man. No fucking way. No way. I would be lonely. I'd prefer loneliness. And as we've learned in our space, especially in our commune, as long as there's batteries and lube, we're good. Just saying. Okay. Where was I? Hang on real quick. Let me just check one thing. Okay. DIY. Exactly. That's exactly right. All right. Covered that story. Do I want to get into this now? This is another, I want to get some more testimony from victims and or witnesses. This is Sigrid McCauley. She was an attorney for Virginia Dufresne. She was appearing with Aaron Burnett, and I'd like you guys to hear what she had to say.
In the room with her, right? You deposed her, right? So everyone else is, it's sort of hearsay. You have been there across the table. You have heard her answer questions. You've actually heard her lie, right? My question to you, having sat there and heard her talk, is would her testimony be useful? Would she tell the truth? Would anything come out of this?
Listen, the one thing we know for sure is that Ghislaine Maxwell is a masterful manipulator. She lies without concern over and over and over again. You can see that in the deposition. I mean, there was not a question she answered truthfully. So it wouldn't make sense to me for someone to give her an audience, because the only thing that she's going to say during those interviews or those meetings are things that will benefit her, and they will not necessarily be truthful. So if it's going to help her, she will use it, but she won't tell the truth.
So Sigrid, when Trump says about pardoning her, he says, I'm allowed to give her a pardon. What does she hear when she hears this?
I mean, we're meant to protect those young children. And so to erase what has been done would just be, completely horrific and really a punch in the stomach to all of the thousands of survivors that are still out there. So it just cannot happen.
Again, the reason that I want to talk about this in terms of the pushback from some of the echo chambers on the right is we have to make it known every single day. We should start the show by saying this every single day, that Ghislaine Maxwell is not a victim. She is not a victim. She is not only not only is she the organizer, the recruiter, the indoctrinator, the trainer, the trafficker, the organizer, she's also an abuser. There were girls, I should say, that testify to the fact that she was not only in the room when the abuse happened, but in many cases participated in it. So I think we need to have a conversation about that as a reminder to MAGA that she's not a victim. And listen, I've not seen a lot of people in the TikTok space. There have been a few. There's been a few that are trying to put their heads around this whole thing, to say that she's probably a victim. Maybe she got railroaded, whatever that might be. Well, no, she did not at all. I'm going to ask Victoria to come up real quick, if she wouldn't mind. I could use a quick little break. Let's see if she comes up. Listen, this goes back to what I said earlier. If we could just believe women, if we really could just find ourselves in a position where we actually just believe them, we wouldn't have to worry about all this nonsense. We wouldn't have to be going through these hoops that the right is just jumping through over and over and over again. Thank you, Victoria. Over and over and over again. Listen to the testimony of these women now, girls then when it happened, and just be like, shit, man, Trump's name's all over this fucking shit. What do I do? How do I get out? How do I get around this? And the answer is you can't, because you're not allowing yourself. You're just not allowing yourself to believe it. You're just not. Instead, you're listening, you're believing this stuff.
Said that you have not been briefed on the Epstein files, or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name?
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this: those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey. They were run by Garland. They were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people.
Yeah.
If they
What was
had
that part
anything, I
again? Hold
assume
on.
they would have
What was
released
that? Wait a second.
It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this: those files were run by the worst scum. They were run by Comey. They were run by Garland. They were run. They ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was something they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe and then he gave out because he was 25 points down? And then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about it. She was a horrible vice president. But think of it. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy. If there was anything in there.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry, you caught me right as I got a phone call. I'm good. This is unsurprising. You know, none of it is surprising.
Yeah, I mean, the situation with the I was reading about the fact that, first of all, you normally would never transport someone who's convicted of the crimes that Ghislaine Maxwell has been convicted of to the kind of facility that she's going to now. This is like, if you ever watched a movie and you see like a white collar criminal and they're sent to this like cushy center, that's what this is. Like, there's no guards, there's no barbed wire. It's just like, what? Like, you're gonna do this now, and after everything that we've seen with Todd Blanche's interviews and everything else, and just I don't know where this is going to go. Where do you think this is going to lead us, Victoria? Any thoughts on that? You're teacupping. I almost said you're teabagging. I'm like, no, you're not. You're teacupping. Let's be very clear about that. I'll answer my own question. I think this is going to lead to him being 25th. I really do.
Sorry, my headphones. No, I'm not surprised by this. The thing I wanted to comment on about this whole situation is it's well known and well documented that putting someone like this in the type of facility that they're putting him in puts them at a greater risk of unaliving. Because we know that criminals don't like a specific set of criminals, and that is what she and Epstein fall under. So the likelihood that she will survive this, I would not be surprised if we see that happen. Deserved? Maybe. Yes, it's definitely deserved. But yeah, this is one of those situations where I feel like this is intentional. She's either about to get out or she's about to meet her maker.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because see, I'm not allowing myself to go there yet with the putting her in this position to make it easier for her to be unalived, and this is my thinking behind that. Don't forget, if she was moved at the direction of the Trump Justice Department to this facility. So therefore, if she's moved to that facility and then she's then axed, then they've got nowhere to go other than they set this up. It's not like this was a plan prior to Trump taking office. It's not like she'd already been moved there. They literally facilitated they literally facilitated and organized this and created this narrative that we're going to get her out of this jail that she's in now that was minimum security. And now we're going to put her into a cush country club. Then she loses her life. So let's think about that for a second. Is it easier for them to explain her losing her life in a facility that they put her in? Or is it easier for them to try to explain a pardon that they give to her as she testifies? I don't even fucking know. It's so wild. I don't even know. How would that work? Like, how would they justify? Because to Victoria's point, and I've been hearing people talk about this, that they're just setting her up to lose her life. And there's also reporting that there's a lot of people that in the know, so to speak, that the Maxwell family are the ones that leaked the information to the press, specifically about the book. Because they know that she's got the goods. They know it. They know it. They know it. They know that they can put Donald Trump there. They know that they can talk about some of the women that have been trafficked, some of the people that have already come out, Maria Farmer, Stacey Williams, etc. Temple Taggart, they know it. There's more. There's many more. So they've got to address this. It's not going to go away. Right? The story's not going to go away. Yeah, it could be easier to escape from that facility. It's a fair point too. So rather than just disappear, so there's nobody to talk about. Well, I don't know how she got out, but even then they're going to have to explain that. So they're just really stuck. I think the worst thing. Let's talk about these in order of severity. The worst thing that can happen for them, from the court of public opinion perspective, is for her to testify in front of Congress and say Donald Trump was participated in this, no different than Bill Clinton or Alan Dershowitz, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's the worst thing that can happen. That's the worst thing. The second worst thing that can happen, in my opinion, would be for him to pardon her and she doesn't testify. That's pretty bad because that looks like you're protecting her. Or he pardons her and then the only name that doesn't come up is Donald Trump's name. And then when asked specific questions about their relationship, she takes the fifth. That's pretty bad. Also bad would be for her to lose her life in this facility that they put her in. That would be bad. So there's really no good outcome for them here. When somebody asks a question, what do I mean by 25th? The 25th means the 25th Amendment. The 25th Amendment is an exercise that any member of the cabinet can institute the 25th Amendment, meaning that the president, they do not feel that the president is competent. Let me just read it to you so people understand exactly what the language is. 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution addresses presidential succession and disability. If the president dies, resigns, or is removed, the vice president becomes president. If there's a vacancy in the office, the president nominates a new VP who must be confirmed by both of the houses of Congress. The president can voluntarily transfer power to the VP by informing Congress in writing. If the president is unable to perform duties due to illness and or other reasons, the vice president and a majority of the cabinet can declare the president incapacitated, allowing the VP to assume the role of acting president until the president is able to resume duties. This amendment ensures a clear line of succession and addresses the situations where the president cannot fulfill their responsibilities. So the 25th then would be a constitutional lever that can be pulled to remove anyone from office. Okay, so that's what that means. So then those scenarios that I kind of just described there, like, there's no win. They have nowhere to go. But again, I think the ultimate worst thing would be for her to testify and name names, including Donald Trump's. Because think of it this way, right? We now know. So if you're asked questions, that's why I want to hear from Pam Bondi. Like, she's a person that needs to sit in front of Congress and testify. Explain this. Explain why you had this information and explain that. And let them tell their fake news stories and let them say it didn't happen. And then Kash Patel and then Dan Bongino. And I'm still reminded of that statement that Dan Bongino said. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Because it was very telling to me that Dan Bongino, who staked a lot of his career, right, on this whole expose, on the story of do you remember this famous statement that he made? Let me see if I can find it. Let's see here. And by the way, he's trying to double down in support of Tulsi, and he's just getting dragged all over X. Like, it's just crazy. But this statement that he made, I think, is very, very telling. Let me see if I can find it. Did he take it down? Nope, it's still there. Hang on one sec. I wasn't expecting to go back to this today, and I should have saved it. No, that's not the one. He might have taken it down. Anyway, he talked about it in terms of this is a big story. Like I was blown away by what I saw. Anyway, mods, if you guys, has anybody seen that? Anybody know what that story is? Anyway, people in the know, people in the community, people in the intelligence community, people that are hardcore MAG are struggling with this. I mean, I gotta find that quote because I think it's the big tell, right? Unless they took it down, could he have possibly deleted his post? Here you go. This is it. This was dated the 26th, so last week. During my tenure here as the Deputy Director of the FBI, I've repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The Director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and the intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. What I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. We are going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We're going to get the answers we all deserve. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at truth, not my truth or your truth, but the truth. That sentence. What I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. When I read that, I'm like, okay, because Dan, you've always believed that the deep state is behind all this. You've always believed that the deep state, the Democrats are part of the global cabal, this P3DO ring, Pizzagate, adrenochrome, etc. You've talked about it. That's Dan Bonino, who's the number 2 man at the FBI. Okay. So it wouldn't shock you to your core, to use your words, if any of the people that you've always thought were on the list were in fact on the list. What would shock you to your core is that people that you never thought were on the list, that we've always knew were on the list, are on the list. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. Yeah. Is this a True Social post? I have to read this. Did they take it down? Okay. So, Sydney Sweeney, I'm gonna pivot real quick and then I have to wrap. I got a little capitalism. Sydney Sweeney, lots of controversy, right? Regarding the got great genes, blonde hair, blue eyed, Sydney Sweeney. Got a lot of controversy. Some people are like, it's an advertisement. It's supposed to invoke, ads are supposed to invoke controversy. I think sometimes the left leans in a little bit too hard on certain things, quite frankly. She's a Republican. Do that with what you will. In response, this came out at 10:25 this morning. Sydney Sweeney, a registered Republican, has the hottest ad out there. It's for American Eagle, and the jeans are flying off the shelves. Go get them, Sydney. On the other side of the ledger, Jaguar did a stupid and seriously woke advertisement that is a total disaster. The CEO just resigned in disgrace, and the company is in absolute turmoil. Who wants to buy a Jaguar after looking at that disgraceful ad? Shouldn't they have learned a lesson from Bud Light, which went woke and essentially destroyed in a short campaign the company? Even though that's just not even close to true. The market cap destruction has been unprecedented, with billions of dollars so foolishly lost. Or just look at woke singer Taylor Swift. Ever since I alerted the world as to what she was saying on Truth, that I can't stand her, hate her, she was booed out of the Super Bowl and became no longer hot. Okay, the tide was seriously turned. Being woke is for losers. Being Republican is what you want to be. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Like, are you saying we have to have tougher skin? Yeah. Well, it's not that. It's just like, it's advertising. Okay? I'm just going to try to be objective. I'll shoot it straight. It's a controversial ad, which is exactly what American Eagle wants. So people have interpreted that, and they can interpret it however they want to, right? That's what advertising does. Now, the connections have been made to Sydney Sweeney being a registered Republican. Okay. But I think it's dangerous when we look at things like that, Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Okay. It's an ad. If people want to run around and call it, a white supremacy dog whistle, then okay, but that's kind of what I don't think the advertising executives. Don't forget, I served as a CMO, so I understand nuance and language and gestures and imagery and advertisement. I understand it very, very, very well. I do not believe that this was intended to stoke the controversy regarding white supremacy. I think it was intended to be ambiguous at best, which is what good advertisement does. Here we are 2 weeks into the ad campaign and people are still talking about it. So I don't think it's I don't think it's what people portray it to be. And I feel like the left, again, is going to run with something that the right is mocking. Like, you guys really think that? So the two things can be true. It is a controversial ad, and I don't believe that it was directly saying, hey, we're going to advertise this and make it about white supremacy. So, yeah, I mean, sure, I knew what they did, right? People can boycott. That's up to you. If you want to boycott it, that's fine. Go ahead. But let's call it what it is. Where it gets weird, though, is for the president to come out and start supporting it. So then it becomes this strange thing. It's ambiguous by design. All right. I do have to wrap, Victoria. I know you're probably off, but I'm just going to boot you. But sorry. I love you. All right. What did we learn today in our recap? We learned that this story is not going to go away, this being the Epstein story. That's what we learned. We learned that. We learned that the Bureau of Labor Statistics, when they are reported on honestly and accurately, like they have been all along, that unless they support the MAGA narrative, then you're just going to fire the people, so literally kill the messenger. We've learned that, you know what? There's one more story that I want to get to before we end today, because it involves Pete Hegseth again. This came out, this is reported by The Independent. The headline is this: leaked memo from Hegseth's brother calls for U.S. Army to help with deportations nationwide for years to come. A leaked memo from the DHS suggests that the Trump administration is considering using the U.S. military to boost its ongoing mass deportation agenda, while acknowledging the deployment of troops in L.A. earlier this year wasn't perfect, according to a new report. The memo was allegedly written by DHS senior advisor Phil Hegseth, the brother of SecDef Pete Hegseth. The New Republic published the text on Saturday. Trump has already used U.S. military personnel in his aggressive deportation campaign. In June, he nationalized approximately 5,000 National Guard members and sent them to L.A. to push back against protesters demonstrating against immigration and custom enforcement's ICE raids. In addition to National Guard members, Trump also sent 700 U.S. Marines to the city to stomp out violent insurrectionist mobs, even though there was none. Most of the military members sent to L.A. have since been pulled out of the city. The DHS memo outlines a June 21 meeting between senior DHS and Pentagon officials, according to the New Republic, and suggests that U.S. military members will be needed to carry out Trump's deportation efforts for years to come. Top-level officials from both agencies, including Hegseth and acting ICE Commissioner Todd Lyons, were listed as participants, the outlet reported. The memo advises departments on how they can, quote, better plan for national security and legal immigration via 3 action items, including utilizing the Pentagon's nationwide operational planning capabilities. So the Hegseth boys have a difficult time keeping classified information under wraps. Now, I'm not saying this was classified, but like, okay. But they only hire the best. So we'll wrap there today. Who we gonna raid? It's his third attempt at posting the truth. He's denied it twice. I'm with you. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. Okay. Look, we don't know what's going to happen with Maxwell. It seems like now that the oversight committee who wanted her to testify is going to push it back till after the Supreme Court potentially hears her case. At the earliest they could hear her case would be October. At the earliest, because it'll be back in session then. I don't think it's going to be an emergency. Whatever meeting for them to. Yeah, we'll raid Olive. We're going to raid Olive, actually. So Congress, their hands are a bit tied because they've gone home, but that's not an excuse. They ran from this, but I believe it's part of an overall strategy. Right? Comer says we're not gonna have her testify until after the Supreme Court rules. She has said that she wants some privileges and or some exceptions and or some either a commutation or a pardon or whatever that might be. I've broken down the scenarios that I think how they cannot run from this no matter what happens. Now the conspiracy theorists are thinking that she was put in this no security prison, if you want to call it that, camp, because they feel like it's going to be easier for her to be unalived, which I don't disagree with. I just don't know if that's going to happen. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. Coming up next week, so next Tuesday, I'm going to be interviewing a Dr. Boyd, who is running to be the next governor of the state of Alabama. Want to thank you to Jess for setting that up for us. That's going to happen next Tuesday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. I'll go back and check my calendar and remind folks of that, but that'll be next week. And I might have a couple of other announcements for you guys coming up over the next few days, depending on how things go over these couple of days. There might be something exciting that I can talk to you guys about. Anyway, love you all. Thank you, mods. Guys are the smartest. Chat on TikTok. Appreciate you guys. Go rate Olive. Don't forget, you want to support the channel, you can do that. We are crowdfunded here. Please consider subscribing. Please consider subscribing over at YouTube as well.